Hey guys, it's Down Under Tea and we are back with episode 135 of Meet Me in the Bunker. Thank you for joining me. I hope you will enjoy tonight's show. We are, of course, talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, who was taken cowardly, in such a cowardly way from us on Wednesday morning rather. And it is just... I'm still floored by it. I can't believe it. I can't process it. I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm all of the above. And today we're going to talk about it and we're going to give some updates on where they are in the case. But before we get into that, March for Australia tomorrow, we'll be live streaming at the rally tomorrow. So now's your chance to follow me, like, subscribe, share it with your friends. We're going to be live streaming from the rally tomorrow. Whatever this crazed teenager thinks he's done with assassinating one of our mentors, he's sadly wrong, because none of us are going to stop doing what we're doing. None of us are going to stop questioning and being thought provokers. None of us. That's not what we got into this for. We got into this not to be scared off by crazed lunatics that are confused about their gender. I'm sorry. That's not what we're here for, and you have not achieved anything except the rest of your life in jail until the day they put that needle up your arm. Personally, I'd like a firing squad. An eye for an eye, mate. One to the chest. So, Donald Trump is on the curvy couch this morning with the Fox News group. I am about probably 10 minutes behind, so I don't know if it's still going or not, but I'm jumping into MAGA Media's live stream, so I've got it paused, and we're going to jump into that right now. So I will just get on here first. No, that's this one I want. Okay. We'll jump in here and we'll play.
And we begin the final hour of Fox and Friends with this. President Trump getting a warm welcome at Yankee Stadium while saluting the flag during the national anthem on 9/11.
Oh, look, there's Boris.
The tribute coming 24 years since the devastating terror attacks and 24 hours after the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. You can clearly hear patriotic chants echoing in the stadium before the game even started.
Oh, my God, is that who I think it is, the old guy?
And later the Yankees were led to...
Here's the important part.
That's right. Led to victory by slugger Aaron Judge, who hit 2 home runs.
2.
Judge's epic performance coming after this exchange with the commander-in-chief.
You're going to win. You're going to go all the way. And you'll get in the playoff. I wish it was a little bit bigger, you know. A little bit bigger. What I think about it.
Look at it.
So
now,
you have
like,
that much muscle, you have to hit the ball further.
I posted earlier on
A fantastic play.
Unbelievable
good play.
on
Thank you.
MAGA
Great to know
Media's
you.
live stream feed here.
And let's hope,
that,
Yankee fans
Bill
hope
Maher
the Yankees go on a big winning streak as they head to
at
Boston. For
Mar-a-Lago,
more on the
just
baseball
like
talk,
living
here's the
with
President of the
Trump,
United
because the
States.
more you get to
Great
know
to see you,
that
Mr.
person
President.
Welcome, Mr.
as a
President.
It was
man,
like the old
the
days.
more
I
you
was at the
realise
Yankee
what he
game with
actually
Randy
is.
and all of the
I
Steinbrenners,
just
the
think he could
family, which is a
benefit from
great
a
family,
week-
and George was a
week-
good
a
friend of
full-
mine, great
I
friend
mean,
of mine, actually.
all expenses
They
paid,
won the
Bill.
game. I didn't want to go to a loser. They
deserve
won.
it.
I met the players. upstairs in the morning, and then I met him.
All right, let's
I
get
spoke
into
to him in the
this.
morning,
I
and
love this
I tell
man.
you
He's
what,
so cool. Look at
I
him.
met him just
Yeah, like
before
a
the
normal
game. I
person.
said, you got to win this game. You're going to make me look bad if you don't win this game. And they were great, great. And Aaron Judge, he is some player, but he is some strong guy. He had the biggest forearms. You know, I've seen weightlifters.
yeah.
I've never seen arms this big. And he's a fantastic person, too, so he's great. And he got up, hit 2 home runs, a single.
They're saying you're responsible for this since he shook your
Thing
hand.
about being 2 minutes behind is we
I
can
felt
speed
like
through the
Newt
commercials.
Rockney, right? You got to win this game, and they had to win that game. That's an important game for them. And they had a couple of games where they lost, and it was a big game for them. So I was very happy. And Randy Levine, the whole family has been just fantastic with me, and we had a good time. And the fans were really nice. You know, you never know what you're going to get in New York, in a New York ballpark. But we got a tremendous applause because they love the country.
Yesterday, you were at the 9/11 memorial. We were all watching that.
Yeah.
J.D. Vance was supposed to be with you. He went out to be with Charlie Kirk's family and to get the body back to his hometown in Arizona. And you said you were going to award him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which
That's
was
right.
very nice of you. Any updates on this suspect?
Yeah. Can I always say, I think, just to protect us all, and so Fox doesn't get sued, and we all don't get sued, and everything else. But I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But, yeah, I think we're in great shape.
Mr.
And he's
President.
in custody.
Your suspicion was that he was radical left, and now you have more information. What can you share with us about his ideology?
Yeah, Lawrence, let me just... And by the way, Lawrence is doing a good job. What's going on?
Fantastic job, yeah.
Mr.
I'll
President.
tell you what, I'm very proud of you.
Thank you,
I
sir.
said you were going to do well. Yeah, I think that I don't want to go too far. I'd like to tell you some stories at how it happened, but essentially somebody that was very close to him turned him in. And that happens when you had some of those good shots. Somebody is going to say, whether it's a parent or whatever, I'd rather not say right now. They're going to announce it today, sometime later, probably talk about that. But somebody close to him turned him.
Okay,
you know, they said,
so
whoa.
they have him.
It's interesting.
He's gone.
We had
He's
very good
gone,
pictures,
and
but
he's
not
alive.
great, not perfect. And when you look at it, what happened is somebody, and this happens a lot. It happened with the crazy Boston bomber. It happened with others. Somebody that's close recognizes even a little tilt of the head, which nobody else would do. And somebody that was very close to him said, that's him. And essentially went to the father, went to a U.S. Marshal, who was fantastic, by the way. And the person was involved with law enforcement, but was a person of faith, a minister. And brought him to a U.S. Marshal, who was fantastic. And the father convinced the son, this is it. And again, I'm always subject to be corrected, but you know, I'm just giving you, based on what I'm hearing, they'll give you a much more active. I just heard about it 5 minutes before I walked in. As I'm walking in, they said, looking real good. They have the person that they wanted. So you have breaking news, don't you? Huh?
Thank you.
You always have breaking
Well,
news.
there's one interrogation tape
Sean's
I
going to be
can't
very
wait to
disappointed that we're not doing it on his show.
He'll be very thankful and appreciative of
I
the
hope they
police
use
officers that got
the
this
yellow
guy.
They did a
pages.
great job, everybody. And everybody worked together. Pam Bondi is incredible, by the way. People don't know what a star she is. She's incredible. And it all worked out.
Give me a
Can I
break.
ask
What
you
did Pam
just
Bondi
some
do? She's
clarification?
gonna make
So
sure he
a
spends the rest of
pastor
his
was
life
able
in
to
jail.
turn him in,
Otherwise,
or they got
she's
the family
useless.
of the shooter to turn
Dan
him in?
Bongino
It was a
deserves
minister,
this win.
and the
Cash Patel
minister
deserved this win.
went to a friend,
And the
a
people
minister
that
who's
turned
involved
him
with law
in
enforcement, by the way.
deserve that $1 million.
And
I
his
don't
good
care if
friend
it is
is
his parents. They deserve the $1 million.
top U.S. Marshal.
They'll probably need
And
it if they going
took
to
it
get
from
him a
there.
lawyer.
And then it was a father got involved, namely his father, and said, we got to go in. And they,
There you go.
so I understand it. And again, subject to change.
The
but,
father
you know,
knew.
the facts are the facts. We have the person
See?
that we think is the person we're looking for.
Scumbag.
But they drove into the police headquarters, and he's there now.
Did the father know about what the son had done?
I don't know. I'm going to let you get all those questions later because I can't tell you how accurate. The bottom line is they have somebody that they think did it.
So, Mr.
Daddy
President,
turned you
there is the
in.
death
How does that
penalty
make
in
you
Utah.
feel?
And I do know this is
How
going to be a
does that
federal
make
case,
you
and there's
feel?
many of us believe that Charlie was targeted because of his political ideology.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to this guy?
Well, I hope he's going to be found guilty, I would imagine. And I hope he gets the death penalty. What he did, Charlie Kirk was the finest person. He didn't deserve this. He worked so hard and so well. Everybody liked him. I've been watching. Even the left is having a hard time. They fired this guy, Dowd, from MSDNC, who's a terrible guy, terrible human being. But they fired him. I hear they're firing other people. And, you know, we're talking about radical left. Now, they're a little bit, but radical left networks and cable channels, horrible channels like MS. I always go at DNC because it's, you know, somehow affiliated with the Democrat National Committee. So, you know, it's a little statement you make. But MSNBC, but NBC, ABC, CBS, they're all terrible, absolutely terrible and unfair. But even they have been giving it sort of like this can't be allowed to happen.
And I just love moment of silence at the Yankee game, moment of silence at the Redskin game, Commanders game last night, because they understand this doesn't matter who you voted for. This was a special person. My opinion is that you have people, when a soldier dies, you write a personal letter, you feel it. When something happens in America, you feel it, you show up for it. I feel like with Charlie Kirk, from what I witnessed, it's, for you, it's almost like a family member.
You know, Don said to me, he's sort of like a son to you. Charlie got involved like 11 years ago, I think. He started, you know, he's a brilliant guy, but he didn't go to college. He actually started in college. He was so bored that he left. He would have done very well in college if he wanted to, but he was brilliant. I always said, you know, can you get a degree because you're sort of used to having people like you went to college, right? Yeah. But he just didn't have the patience to do it. And he started this really during what would normally be college, maybe even sooner than that, but what would normally be college. And it's become a movement. And, you know, I won youth. A Republican never wins youth, but I won youth. I will tell you, TikTok helped me, but he helped me with TikTok. But he helped me with youth. I've never seen a person who's, in this case, older than the people we're talking about, you know, in many cases. I've never seen young people or any group go to one person
Charlie,
like they did to Charlie.
Appealed to all ages.
He'd go
I
out
know
to
from personal
Arizona, to
experience
any school,
when I attended
to
his,
Utah, where he, you know, where he
Amfest.
was, but any school, also East
It
Coast,
was a whole
anywhere.
range of people.
And he would
from,
have bigger
like,
rallies than any
kids
radical
in
left
France
speaker.
To people
And
in
it
walking
was
frames,
killing
so
them because he'd have 5,000 people show up, 10,000 people
There's very
show up.
few men that
They'd
can
go
do
and they'd
that.
have 50 people, but they talked big league, right?
Some might say
No,
one
he
of them
was
was
an
Jesus.
unbelievable talent. But he was more, it wasn't really so much a talent. He just really believed it. He just believed it. He loved young people. He wanted to help young people. And he didn't deserve this. He was truly a good person.
Do you think it's important for people to see how he died? I think that's to see the horrific. Did you see
I
it?
didn't watch. I didn't want to watch. I heard about it.
You don't want to watch.
I would have never made a good doctor. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I heard enough. I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to remember Charlie that way. But yeah, it's horrific, is what I hear. Just horrific. I hear that nobody can. I know friends that were there, and they told me. They said what we witnessed, the physical emotion of being there. You know, or watching it on television. He was somebody that I always said he was very talented, but. You know, when you love something so much, it's almost not even talent. It's that you do it well because you like it. It's a passion. And he had a passion for this. I spoke to his wife yesterday. She's like devastated.
Of course.
But in between the devastation, they want to keep Turning Point going. Because so many people called in to me
My
with
heart
donations.
goes out to
I
that
don't know
family,
who.
Erica.
Do we
My
give
heart
donations
goes
to
out to
her?
you
Do we
and
give
your
it to Turning
children.
Point? Do we give it to
I just
you know,
can't
any
even
one of the
imagine what
hundreds
you're
of
going
colleges
through.
that he worked with or universities? And they want to keep Turning Point going. They think they can do it. He had a very good staff, I noticed. You know, Charlie would call me up. I'm president of the United States. And I get a call like a day before. Sir, could you come to Arizona tomorrow? I said, Charlie, I'm president. I can't just come. He said, it's so important. Could you play? And I'd usually try and get there. You know, he's the only one.
20,000.
Yeah, he was such a great guy that he had to end this way. But you know, in many ways, he's bigger now because of what happened. He was really big, important, and I guess this doesn't help his family very much when I say this, but in terms of, you know, very, very important, getting that such a good word, such a solid word. You know, we have so many bad people, so many bad philosophies, ideologies, politics. His was basically just good. Family, he talked about family, he talked about get married, go get married. You know, sounds old-fashioned when you think about it, but he's right. He was just on. And it's a shame that that voice has been stopped. But I think from what I see, you know, I got to know a lot of his people. He had great people, and that includes his wife. She's very talented. He said she's the best writer he's ever seen. You know, she's a writer, among other things. So maybe they can really keep it going.
So, Mr. President, was it a one-off? Was this guy that assassinated Charlie?
It seems to be.
He wasn't a part of a bigger network or anything that we know
Well, you
of?
don't know. I mean, you don't know. I hear these people talking so badly about me and others. I'm a guy that just wants to make America great again. You know, we want to look at what we did in D.C. We took D.C., probably the single worst place in the country in terms of crime. There's no crime. It's a crime-free area. I went to dinner the other night, stood out in the middle of the street, did interviews with you guys, but I did interviews right in the middle of the street. If I did that 6 months ago or a year ago, I would have about a 30% chance of being here to talk about it.
We're getting shouted down.
And you know, it's amazing. D.C. is now a great safe. Now we're fixing it up physically, too. We're putting in new medians. We're going to give everything a little coat of asphalt so we don't have potholes all over. You know, filling a pothole is fine temporarily, but they'd fill a pothole and never touch it for 10 years. Right. You know, old potholes don't look good. We're going to fix it up. We're going to make it beautiful at a very minimal cost. And we're going to have the most beautiful capital in the world. But even more importantly than that, it's very safe. People would come from Iowa, they'd come from Indiana, and their son would be killed. They'd be killed. And now you can come and you can enjoy. I was very embarrassed because I had the president of Poland in, and they started asking me about D.C. a couple of weeks ago. And I said, we're very proud of the fact that nobody's been killed this week. And he looks at me like, you know, head of Poland, he says, whoa, is that? And he said, well, and I'm telling the press, you know, they're doing the little thing in the Oval Office, our great Oval Office, our very upgraded Oval. And the press is asking me, well, what about that? He said, we haven't had anybody killed in the last 3 weeks, and it's been like 9 years since nobody's been killed. Every week, somebody's been killed for years, and we haven't had crime. And they said it's down 87%. I said, what about the 13%? You know, why wouldn't it be? It's down 100%. Right. So you'd be very proud of your capital. You can go there now, and by the way, business is booming. Restaurants are booming. And this all took place within, we really did it in 12 days, but now it's better. You know, each day it becomes even better.
Mr. President, what do you say to the families that are watching, the moms, dads, that we've heard so much negative news with the lady being killed on the train, terrible. Right? And then we have Charlie Kirk. We had a school shooting the other day. And those are just 3 big events that happened in the last few days. So, or that we learned about. The girl was killed
in the attempts on your life?
Yes.
Well, one thing I do say, I mean, look, we have that maniac has gone through trial right now with a fantastic judge. That was the judge that realized that deranged Jack Smith was deranged, okay? She's a phenomenal judge. I don't know her. I appointed her, but I don't know her at all in Florida. And she's a, you know, really talented person, brilliant judge. And by coincidence, she got that case. And, you know, he's like a wise guy, troublemaker, it seems. But we have to have, for, like, the person that killed the young girl, the beautiful, she was like a beautiful girl, 22, 23 years old. And, you know, when she got onto that train, she was, you could see that she just wanted to, even before this happened, she almost like snuck on. She didn't want to make anything. She just wanted to be. She was afraid.
Finished her job.
No, she was afraid. But if you look at her before she was, the way she sort of like just, she wanted to just, and she's looking at her phone like this. She felt very unsafe. Okay, we can't have that. And then this maniac gets up from behind. That's another one I didn't want to watch. I didn't watch it. I knew what happened, but I didn't want to watch it. And what he did to her was unbelievable. And then he walks through, the knife is dripping blood and everything else. One thing I say, we have to have quick trials.
Yeah.
I call it quick trial, because in China, they do have quick trials, you know? They don't wait 6 years and
Yeah, you
claim
start
all
off guilty
sorts
and
of
you end up
reason.
guilty in China.
Oh, it's terrible. What happens here is you go through 7, 8 years, and by the time it ends, and then they say, well, you know, he had a reason to do it because he wasn't treated right in grade school, and it's his teacher's fault, and it's the government's fault. That guy should be. They should have a trial the following day, as far as.
But do you know that they said?
I mean, when you have somebody on tape. Here's a guy on tape getting ready to, and then he did his thing. The whole thing is on tape. This should not be going on. This trial will go on. It'll start in 2, 3, 4 years. We have to have, in certain places that do it differently, they have what's called quick trial. You have a fast trial, a fast verdict.
Right.
Now, if he's guilty, we're going to have to keep him, feed him, take care of him for, let's say, he's 28 or 29 years old, I understand. So, like for 50 years,
Yeah.
we're going to be...
But he
I
never
think
should
it's
have been let
ridiculous.
out.
Now, in Utah, he shouldn't have been let out. And the judge should be responsible for that, the way she did it. But in Utah, they have the death penalty. And you have a very good governor there. The governor, I've gotten to know him. The governor is very intent on the death penalty in this case, and he should be. In North Carolina, you also have it, but we have to make sure that happens. That was a horrific crime.
But I think Ainsley's point is in the big picture. What do you say to people who are saying they see the assassination attempts in your life, they see the Minnesota lawmakers, they see what happened, they see what happened to Charlie, and they're saying, what's going on with the political process? Now, instead of trying to get votes, you're trying to survive. There are lawmakers canceling their events this weekend, AOC on the left and a lot of lawmakers on the right saying, I'm a little concerned about doing a public event. As president, what do you tell them?
I say you have to go forward. You just have to go forward. You watch, you know, as closely as you can. You have, I have great people. I mean, I have people now much better and far more. When I was hit in Butler, they wouldn't, you know, it was Biden, but they wouldn't approve. We had 55,000 people. We had, you know, we get these tremendous crowds, and I'd have far fewer people than Biden who'd go out. He had many more Secret Service people than me. And he'd have like 8 people show up, but I have 55 or 60,000 people show up. Butler's a great example of that. And we have great people right now. You know, we had a thing happen that's very big. People don't even talk about it. We won a lot of great decisions. The Supreme Court, I give them a lot of credit. We have a decision on merit. In other words, this country is now a country of merit. You don't have to be a woman or a man or a this or a that.
Give me the best person.
You don't have to be white or black or Asian or whatever it is. It's all based on merit now. And I wasn't sure if anybody would have the courage to make that decision. That was a big, big decision. When you go down to Washington and you see these people, they happen to be strong soldiers. They're big and strong. They don't mind fighting, as opposed to somebody that really isn't equipped to do that, that weighs perhaps 100 pounds.
And has a third nationality or sexuality, they be him.
Correct. You can say it. I'd rather not say it. I want to see. But it's based on merit. You hire people now based on merit. That's the way the country got great. And I give so much credit to the Supreme Court for that. So with some of these people, though, we're going to have to do... The politicians are one thing, and we can talk about that, but we have to have trials that go quickly.
Okay.
We can't have a trial like this guy. We can't have a trial that's going to start in 3.5 years from now.
But he's only one. That was political violence. The Democrats don't want the National Guard there because they say they belong in war zones. But our cities, Chicago, 6 people shot over the weekend, killed. The weekend before that, 11 more.
And that's a good weekend.
Right. This is happening in every major city. There's a lunatic that's on the street, that's some Soros DA that is allowed out. What's going to happen?
So I think maybe I'll be the first to say it right now again. We're going to Memphis. Memphis is...
That's the next city.
Deeply troubled. And the mayor is happy. He's a Democrat mayor. The mayor is happy. And the governor, Tennessee, the governor is happy. Deeply troubled. We're going to fix that just like we did Washington. I would have preferred going to Chicago. I had a man in the head of a big railroad. They're doing a merger, and he wanted to come see me and all that stuff. And I asked him, because, you know, it's one of the largest train companies, maybe the largest, so you can figure out who it is, okay, Union Pacific. And he was in my office, and he started off 45 years ago with the railroad. Such a great story. Sir, I'm a railroader. That's the kind of guy that should write it, you know, as opposed to a Wall Street guy that destroys the railroad, but he's good financially, right? And he was a very impressive guy. And I said, so what do you think? Where should we go next as a city? Because we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we'll do a few at a time. But we're going to straighten out the crime in these cities. He said, sir, Memphis would be good because he's on the board of FedEx. He said, when I walk 1 block to my hotel, they won't allow me to do it. They put me in an armored vehicle with bulletproof glass to take me 1 block. He said, it's so terrible. I said, let me ask you a question. So we're going to Memphis. I'm just announcing that now, and we'll straighten that out.
National Guard?
The National Guard and anybody else we need. And by the way, we'll bring in the military, too, if we need it. But National Guard. But Memphis is, look, it's a great music city. It's, you know, home of Elvis and everything else. But I said to him, where else should we go? Where would you say? He said, sir, please do me a favor. St. Louis has been so badly hit. It's very hard, very, very hard. He said, don't lose Chicago. You're going to lose Chicago, sir. It's a great city. You're going to lose Chicago. And then we have this Slav Pritzker on television every day. All he does is hit Trump. I said, does he realize last weekend he had 11 people killed and 28 wounded?
It doesn't bother him. He says he's got the situation handled.
And he keeps saying, we have no crime problem. The week before, he had a week where he had 72 people injured and like 11 died. But if he does 5, like you just said, 5, that's a good week. Every weekend, they're losing many people. It's out of control. But when this guy, who's a smart guy, you know, he heads the biggest railroad, he said, the way he said it, he said, sir, please don't lose Chicago. We are about to lose Chicago. It's a great city. You can save Chicago.
You had a decision in San Francisco that said you're not allowed to use the National Guard, the military in California, and you're waiting for that decision on the appeal. Does that...
We've been winning all those decisions. We just won one against Newsom.
You're waiting for it, and a lot of people think that it's just a matter of time, but you're appealing it. Are you waiting for that appeal to go your direction so you can put the National Guard and don't have to worry about the courts telling them to
We're
pull
really
out?
not. We think we're going to win all of them, and we have been winning all, and we just won one against Gavin Newsom, who's been terrible. Look, if we didn't go into L.A. a few months ago, you wouldn't have the Olympics there. They lost 25,000 houses to fires because they didn't have the water come down from the Pacific Northwest. They have a lot of water, but they send it out into the Pacific to protect a little tiny fish, right? Which did very badly when it didn't have any water, by the way. Right. But just the whole thing is so crazy. You wouldn't have lost any houses. You would have had a fire. They would have had sprinklers going. They would have had fire hydrants. But they lost 25,000 houses. Now they want to build low-income housing where many of those houses were. I don't know if you heard this. Yeah. This came in last week. Nobody's got their permits. The federal government, Lee Zeldin's incredible. He got, and they're much tougher permits. Everybody's permitted in California, in Los Angeles. Everybody has a permit to build their house, to rebuild their house, except the city and the state haven't given the permits. It's a long time now. And the people want to build. But now Newsom,
what's the reason?
It's environmental.
Because they're just incompetent. No, but it's really they're incompetent. They could avoid the virus. My environmental is much tougher than his. Everybody had it within 30 days. This is now over a year, and these people are standing outside the house. They want to rebuild the house. But in my opinion, even worse, they now want to take a large section and they want to build low-income housing there in a very high-income
Pacific
area.
Palisades.
It's unfair. I mean, it's unfair to the people. And, you know, they want to be politically correct, so they don't. They're seething inside, but they want to be politically correct, so they don't want to say
That's
it.
every city, Mr. President. I know they
Not
reject
every city.
the politicians.
Yeah, it's
reject
a lot
it,
of cities.
But you got Chicago and all these other cities that say the people we interview them. They say they want the National Guard. They want safety. Memphis, they want it. So why not just go anyway?
The Democrats don't want it. Look, almost every city that's in trouble is run by Democrats. Cashless bail is a disaster. When they came out with that, and I think it started in New York, I have to tell you, but when they came out with, so somebody kills somebody, and the judge says, all right, come back to trial in 10 years and, you know, go out, and then he goes out and kills somebody else. Cashless bail has to be ended immediately. sanctuary cities are a disaster. But it's a Democrat. There are a couple of bad Republicans places, and we'll fix them up. By the way, the Republicans want me to come in there so badly.
Louisiana,
New Orleans.
But well, the governor of Louisiana, that's the other thing we could fix up.
Orleans.
I could fix that up in a week and a half. New Orleans is really in bad shape, and the governor wants us to go in. We'll do that too. But Chicago's a major city, and when that person told me, smart guy, sir, please, he was almost like, you know, as somebody that loves the country. And he knows every city. The railroad stops in all these cities. He knows the good, the bad. He said, sir, some are too far gone. He said, don't lose Chicago, sir. You're about to lose Chicago. He means lose it permanently. That's what's going to happen. I can fix Chicago, much bigger than D.C., but we can bring in the military. We can bring in the National Guard. We'll do what we have to do. You know, the people in D.C. are so happy. They bring coffee to the National Guard.
Mr. President, now the 30 days is up. And does everything, is there any...
Well, the mayor's asked us to stay.
Well, how do you...
So we have a Democrat mayor who's asked us to stay. And D.C.'s a little bit different because I could federalize it if I want. You know, D.C.'s a little bit different. So we have a lot. We have actually more power in D.C. because it's, you know, I can change the mayor if I want. I can do whatever I want. I haven't had to. We've had a great relationship with the mayor. We've had a great relationship. Everybody's happy.
Breaking news.
And the mayor was not in favor of it. At first we, you know, forced, and then she saw the results. And everyone's going up and thanking her. We have no crime anymore. People that were afraid to leave, they have themselves locked in their house. And by the way, they have guns to protect themselves. If they didn't have guns, you know, the bad guys know that Mrs. Jones, who's 85 years old, is sitting in a chair with a gun in her hand, and they leave her alone, okay? If she didn't have a gun, they wouldn't leave her alone. But D.C. is a great example. The mayor is a very liberal person, was not in favor of this, and now all of a sudden she's being praised by the people in the community. Everybody wants, who doesn't want it to happen? Like in Chicago, if you took a poll, do you want to have no crime, or do you want to walk outside and get mugged or killed? I mean, they're losing 6, 7, 8, 9 people every week, and 30 or 40 are being shot. That's worse than Afghanistan. That's worse. There's no city like that. You know, we hear about places like, oh, Afghanistan's so terrible. They don't have anything like that. When I had to tell in front of the president of Poland,
the crime statistics,
the press,
you would be
you know, we had
shocked
one of the
if you
media
compared them
scrums
to
and they're
places
screaming
like
and everything. We're in the
Afghanistan.
Oval Office, and
Because
I had to
it's
say,
just-
I'm pleased to report that nobody
a
was
war
shot,
zone.
nobody was
This
killed
is
this
not.
week. And he's like, is that good? I mean, he's like,
He
what are you
expected
talking?
it, yeah.
No, they don't have people shot every week, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a different thing. We're doing great. We'd love to save Chicago. We don't want to go into a hostile. By the way, the people will greet us.
Right.
But you know, they have professional agitators. They're professional.
They're paid.
I had one the other night. I went into a restaurant and this woman stood up. I looked at her immediately. She had money. She wasn't serious. They get paid for it. They're professional, from Soros and other people. And we're going to look into Soros because I think it's a RICO case against him and other people. Because this is more than like protests. This is real agitation. This is riots on the street. And we're going to look into
How
that.
do we do about our country with that? Because we have radicals on the right as well. We have radicals on the left. People are watching all of these videos and cheering. Some people are cheering that Charlie was killed. How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's
And
going to
there's
get
not
me
as
in
many
trouble, but
on
I
the
couldn't care
right
less.
as there is on the left.
The radicals on the right
You can't
oftentimes
say
are
that.
radical because they don't want to see crime. They don't want to see crime.
Worried
That's
about
right.
the border.
It's the crime
They're saying,
itself
we
that
don't want these
radicalises
people coming
us.
in. We don't want you burning our shopping centers.
It's
We
the
don't want
people
you
getting
shooting
away
up
with
people in the middle of
murder
the street.
that radicalises
The radicals
us.
on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy. Although they want men and women sports, they want transgender for everyone, they want open borders. The worst thing that happened to this country, because I've already solved inflation, costs are down. Look at energy costs. You're going to have $2 gasoline pretty soon. I've solved just about every problem. The worst thing that happened to our country is when we let 25 million people in, many of which, and I say 80%, should not be in our country. They emptied their prisons into our country. They emptied their mental institutions, insane asylums. You don't know what that is. That's seriously, you know what that is? A mental institution on steroids, okay? They emptied out insane asylums, crazy people, into our country by the millions. And it's the single it's the hardest thing. We have a border now that's totally secure. Nobody came in. Think of that. They actually announced nobody. We used to have millions of people come in. Nobody came in. And we back up the border with the military. We've done a great job. But the worst thing that happened to our country is to allow millions of people in from jails, mental institutions, drug dealers.
Right.
They threw them all into our country. And these stupid people, and some of them are stupid in terms of common sense, but they're brilliant in other ways. Biden wasn't calling the shots. It was the geniuses that surrounded, radical left geniuses that surrounded him on the, unfortunately, he used the Resolute desk. That's the one I used. I hated that he used it, but he used it. But they called the shots, and he didn't do anything. Look at what happened. The auto pen signed everything. He wasn't aware of anything that was being signed. It's so illegal.
Let out killers from prison, and he doesn't even know it.
They
The
took
real
the
dead
unselect
president.
committee that, investigated stuff. It found out that we were right on everything. They burned all the information because we were right on everything. Nancy Pelosi knew.
That in itself
I
is a
told her, I
crime.
said, I'll
That's
give you
why these people
10,000
need to be
troops.
investigated.
January
because burning
6th.
the
I'll give
evidence
you
is a crime in
10,000 troops
itself.
if you'd like. No, we don't
They had
want them.
no
Oh.
jurisdiction
Well, they
to
found
do
out that was true. They found out it was true. They burned everything. And Biden gave them a pardon. He gave these people on the committee, Congress people, he gave them a pardon.
Oh, no,
And
he didn't.
It's so what they
President
did.
Autopen
What
gave
he
them a
did
pardon.
to this country.
And guess who wasn't
will
elected?
live in infamy.
So, Mr.
What he did is,
What do you-
and I say, Lawrence, I say what he and his people, because he was up sleeping most of the time, he should not have been president.
But Mr. President, I remember we talked to you the next day after they tried to assassinate you, the first time. And it changed you. And you talked about your faith and how the American people, they're shaken this morning over Charlie Kirk, the school shootings that are happening. What do you say to those people that are hurting this morning?
Well, I tell politicians, and I have a lot of friends that are Democrats. There are some normal Democrats, too, not too many. But I have some friends, and I've been called by Democrats, everything else. They're equally concerned also.
Yeah.
It's them, too. They don't want to go out in a public space and start. And I say something pretty simple. You got to do it. You got to protect as much, but you got to do it. I have the advantage of having hundreds of guys around me, as president, but they don't have that advantage. They could be a congressman, or they could be, look at Steve Scalise, a great guy. Look what happened to him. If he didn't have those two very brave people around, he would have been, they would have all been killed. All those congressmen would have been killed. But you had three of them badly hurt, and Steve was really badly hurt. I really say, I'm a little bit of a fatalist, I guess. I say, got to do your thing. Or get out of the business and go into something else. It's a dangerous business. And frankly, it always has been. It always has been. My job's very dangerous. If you would have told me this, maybe I wouldn't have done it, Brian. If Brian would have called me up, it's interesting. You look at the stats on presidents, it's the most dangerous career you can have.
Right.
Kennedy, Lincoln, McKinley, you can go down the list. But I chose to do it. I love doing it because we're going to make America great again. It's happening. So look at the stock market. We've had the stock market hitting record highs every day. Never been higher. People, last night at the Yankee game, the cops are coming over to me. I love the police here. I love them all over the place, frankly. Sir, you've made me look like a genius. My wife finally respects me. My 401k is through the roof. He said, she thinks I'm a financial genius. I made him into a financial genius.
By the way, we just got word there's going to be a press conference at 9 o'clock. Kash Patel is going to be there, I guess, to give more details on what you told us, and that is we got the guy.
Okay,
you
press
guys got the
conference
guy.
at 9.
And he's in custody, and he's alive. And
So
he
that'll
was
be
turned
straight
in
after the end of Fox and Friends.
By friends and families confirmed it. So is the message to the right, the people that are going to go, I want revenge, not to have revenge? Charlie Kirk would not want revenge.
You want revenge at the voter
That's
box.
where to go.
But unfortunately, we don't have so many ballot boxes because they have mail-in voting, which is totally rigged. There are a lot of problems. I like ballot boxes where they do mail-in voting all over the place, which is rigged. Anytime, Jimmy Carter, they had a commission. He said, anytime you have mail-in voting, it's a crooked election, okay? And they got to stop. But I say, I can't really say at the ballot box because in some cases, like California, doesn't have ballot boxes. They send out 38 million ballots. Nobody knows where the hell they're going. Then they come back. Democrats get more than Republicans.
Right.
It's so unfair, the system, and we're going to fix this system.
What are you going to do about President Putin? Because we just saw these drones in Poland.
Yeah, well,
More
Poland
sanctions?
thing,
More-
I mean, I'm not going to defend anybody, but the Poland's, they were actually knocked down and they fell into an area. But you shouldn't be close to Poland
Right,
anyway.
right.
So I solved, as you know, 7 wars. 7. I did so many, including Pakistan and India, but big ones. Some were unsolvable.
Some we
Congo
didn't even know were happening.
and Rwanda. I solved it. It was going on for 31 years. Millions of people killed. I solved wars that was unsolvable. Azerbaijan and Albania. It was going on for many, many years. I had the prime ministers and presidents in my office. They sat so far apart. One chair was there, one chair was there. I said, fellas, get together, come on. He said, you know, I've been fighting. The one said, both great guys, that said, I've been fighting for 22 years. I've been killing his people for 22 years. He's been in there for 22 years. The other one's in there for 7 years. He said, for 7 years, I've been killing their people. I say, let's hug and make up. And anyway, we solved the problem. They said it was unsolved. I did 7. I thought the easiest one was going to be Ukraine and Russia.
But the problem is really Vladimir Putin. You talked to him in Alaska.
Yeah, I did.
He has
I'm
picked up the pace of the
disappointed.
bombing.
Look, there's tremendous hatred between him and Zelensky. Tremendous. It's, I've seen it
But
before. but I've
Zelensky says
never
I'm
seen-
coming to the table.
Well, now
Zelensky
he
says-
does. No, now
True.
he does. He wasn't coming to the table so
Right.
quickly. You remember the famous...
So is your patience run out with Putin?
Yeah, it's sort of running out and running out fast, but it does take 2 to tango. It's amazing. When Putin wants to do it, Zelensky didn't. When Zelensky wanted to do it, Putin did. Now Zelensky wants to, and Putin is a question mark. But we're going to have to come down very, very strong. It's the only one. This is the one, because I've always had a great relationship with Putin. This is the only war that I haven't solved. Now, let's get into Gaza, because that's another one. So those are 2 that are...
Before you move on, can I ask
More
you, what
complex.
is clamping down on Vladimir Putin?
Well, it'll be hitting very hard with sanctions to banks and having to do with oil and tariffs also. But I've already done it. I've done a lot. Look, India was their biggest customer. I put a 50% tariff on India because they're buying oil from Russia. That's not an easy thing to do. That's a big deal. And it causes a rift with India, you know. And remember this is a Europe problem much more than our problem. The other thing I've done, Brian, and I know how you feel very strongly about it, and I understand a lot of people do it, a lot of people don't, frankly. But we were spending $350 billion on a war that was across the ocean. Europe was spending $100 billion. It's still a lot of money, but it should have been equalized, at least equalized, or they should have spent more. But I did something. As you know, I went to NATO, great relationship with all of those NATO countries, and I got them to raise from 2% to 5%. And then I got them to pay for anything that all of our costs now are being paid by NATO. So NATO is very, you know, they're rich countries, and they're now paying. We're sending missiles and things to NATO. NATO's paying us, and they're distributing to where they want, which is, in this case, Ukraine.
Mr. President,
Which is a big saving. That's a big difference. We're not spending,
But I
but
heard
you know
they
what I want to
stopped,
do?
yeah.
I want to stop it for a different reason. Because now, I guess you could say we make money. I don't want to make money, but we're making money because. But I want to stop because they're losing 6,000 to 7,000 soldiers every single week, and they're not American soldiers. They're Russian and Ukrainian soldiers, and some people in the towns. But the big numbers are the soldiers.
That's the thing.
They're
Nobody
losing.
seems
Last
to
week
understand.
they lost
He just wants
7,000
people to
and
stop
18
dying. Both
soldiers.
sides, all
A little
sides.
bit more
People
Russia
stop
than
dying.
Ukraine, but they both.
Why
they're-
can't people get
They've
that?
lost 1.5 million
Even
soldiers
Democrats.
fighting
It's
back
pretty
and forth.
damn simple.
I want to stop it on a human
It
basis.
just
You know,
goes
their
to show
souls,
how
they're Russian souls,
even
they're
less
they're not
than simple
American.
Democrats are.
But I just feel I have an obligation to do it. And that was the one I thought was going to be the easiest of the 7.
Right.
And that turned out to be the toughest.
but you got another
But
one.
I'll get it done.
You got Hamas, and you already given them one final warning. They've rejected every single offer.
Yeah.
They're upset, and Qatar is upset, but they have terrorists in their country right now. What are you going to do? You already gave them the final
you
warning.
remember this, when I got involved, it was a mess. Biden left us a mess in everything. The economy, inflation, everything was, he was the worst president we've ever had in this country. His administration was, grossly incompetent and radical left, by the way. Radicals. They don't even think of it as, they thought open borders were great when people pour in from jails. He left us a mess. We're going to get that fixed. We're going to get it fixed. But remember one thing, I'm the one that got the hostages back. Steve Witkoff has done a great job. We have other, Adam Bowler, I don't know if you know Adam
Great guy.
Bowler. He's a guy, all he wants to do, you know, he's a rich guy. I was going to put him in charge of a massive fund. He had any job he wanted. He only wants to work on getting hostages back. You know, we've got 67 hostages back, and we don't pay any money. Biden would pay $6 billion for 5 hostages, and they'd get more than we would. But they were always getting like $6 billion. The money was so crazy. And, you know, when you do that, then you're going to have a lot of problems because they're going to go and they're going to keep kidnapping people. But we're going to get it solved. But remember, I'm the one that got all the hostages out. I got them out. Unfortunately, you got a lot of dead people, too. You got a lot of dead. They killed. It's a ruthless group of people. I told Hamas, we want our hostages back. We want those hostages back. Now, we have all the Americans back, but now I'm talking about hostages, mostly Israeli. Right. But, you know, of the hostages back, so there's 20, but there could be a couple dead in the recent days. But there are 20. But there's also 34 that are dead. And we want them back. The parents called me, and they, you know, I got very close to a lot of these people. Can you get my son back? I said, oh, how's he doing? Sir, he's dead, but they have his body. Can you get him back? You have no idea what I go through. They want that body back just as much as though he were alive. Mm-hmm. Every bit as much. They want the body back. And I'm getting them back. We got them back. We got every hostage you saw that came out, we got them back. And we've done a good job. But I said, we're not doing the 2, give me 2 this week and another 3 the next week, you know, and over a period of time. And I always said, those final 20 or 10 are going to be tough. We have 20. But I said, those final are going to be very, very tough. Let's see what happens. I told Hamas, you got to give us the hostages back.
And they're not.
What?
Well, we're going to find out.
What about interest rates? Because we're hoping Jerome Powell lowers the interest rate this month. If he doesn't, and you get to appoint someone, is it next May?
Yeah.
Who would you appoint,
well,
and what do you expect?
We have somebody that shouldn't be there. You know, we're going to see how that all works out, too. You know, a Democrat that really shouldn't be there, did bad things. But I called him too late.
That didn't
His
make it very
nickname is Too
easy
Late.
for us
Okay,
to
Jerome
guess,
Powell.
because there's a
Jerome
lot
Too
of
Late
them.
Powell. Too late on the interest rates. Always late, except when it came to a Democrat, because before the election, he dropped the interest rates to try and help Kamala Harris, I guess. I assume that's why, because he shouldn't have dropped the interest rates then. He should have dropped. But he's a year late. And despite that, we have the best economy we've ever had. We have the best stock market we've ever had. In other words,
yes,
what we've created is so
right.
strong. We have $17 trillion going to be invested in this country. Think of it. They didn't have, I mean, they had nothing. They had people leaving our country. We have the greatest boon in the history, and that's why the stock market went up 700 points yesterday.
Inflation is down.
Inflation's down. Well, I have low inflation.
Yeah.
He had the highest inflation in history.
Up to 9. Yeah.
No, he had really, in many things, 18, 19, 20%. He had the worst inflation in the history of our country. And we have almost no inflation anymore. And if you look at energy, you know, energy's so big, it brings everything down. But if you look at energy, the energy costs are way down. I mean, we've done a great job, despite the fact that we should have lower interest rates. Now, we have 2 things. We've been successful because of the tariffs. It's given us a great power to negotiate with other countries that took advantage of us. Tremendous power. Also, it's brought in trillions of dollars into our country. We have a big case brought by foreign governments because the foreign governments have been ripping us off for years, and it's now in the Supreme Court. That case is really important to win because it's made us a rich country. It's made us a rich country because I don't want to call it retribution, but we've been ripped off.
Trying to rebalance.
We've been ripped off for years by countries and by having presidents that were not smart in a business sense. I'm not saying they were good politicians, but they were stupid businessmen. They allowed the world to rip us off. If we don't, that Supreme Court case is so important. And frankly, this economy, if we win the tariff case, which we should on the legal merits, but on common sense, right, we would have to give back trillions of dollars.
To these countries.
What do
Can you
do,
imagine?
All those deals blow
We would have to give back trillions and trillions of dollars because we got it because of tariffs. That case is one of the most important cases in the history of our country.
What do you do if we lose that case?
Well, I don't want to talk about it. I mean, I guess we'll find something, but it would be a very tough thing
We
to
don't
lose
talk
that
about
case.
losing.
It's a totally legal case. It's good.
There's no
What we
crying
did is
in
right. The
baseball.
president has the power to impose tariffs, and for national security reasons, for everything, we've become a rich country. Remember, 2 months ago they said we found $29 billion, a lot of money. We found, but peanuts compared to that. But they found $29 billion, sir. We don't know where it is. I said, where did it come from? They said, we just don't know. I said, check the tariff shelf. I call it the tariff shelf because the money is so ridiculous. It's enormous. They called me up the next morning. Sir, you're right. It came in from additional tariffs. $29 billion. We're a rich, powerful country. And when we're rich, we can do more things for the people.
So Senator John Thune this morning says he believes that Chuck Schumer wants to shut the government down, along with Hakeem Jeffries. They signal they will not vote for a clean short-term government funding package. How does President Trump deal with the government?
Well, we have to get Republican votes, that's all. If we do, we have the majority, so we have to get
But don't you have to get 60, don't you?
No, we're going to do a probably continuing resolution, or we're going to do something. So we're going to do something that... Here's the
Oh,
problem.
not another freaking
The Democrats
CR.
they're sick. There's something wrong with them. Schumer is, at the end of the rope. He's going to be defeated in the next election. If you gave them every dream right now, every dream that they've, they want to give away money to this and that, destroy the country. If you gave them every dream, they would not vote for it. That's how bad. I told them, don't even bother dealing with them. We will get it through because the Republicans are sticking together for the first time in a long time. Look, we got I call it the great, big, beautiful bill. That has tax cuts for the middle class. No tax on tips, no tax on
So we're
Social
about
Security.
15 minutes
no
behind.
tax
There's
on
10 minutes
overtime. You
left
work
of this
over.
interview, and then we'll probably go
You're going to
straight
feel it
into
really
the
big.
press
I'll tell you, the
conference.
biggest thing right now, we have to win the Supreme Court case. If we win
your
that
eyes
case,
open. We
this
haven't had
country
any
is a
commercials to
rocket
blow
ship
through
like
and
no
catch
other
up,
country ever in the history of our
unfortunately.
world.
They're not confirming your appointments either.
Over
They're
100.
holding them down.
But I'm going to get it done because we're not going to be doing something that they want. They want something very badly, and I won't tell you what it is yet. You'll figure it out pretty soon. But we're not going to be doing that. So I'm fine. We got 200 people that left their jobs in order to come into the administration. And the Democrats are blocking and some of them are great. If I had George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, they came back from the dead, and they wanted to go into the administration, Schumer would not approve them.
They're doing a nuclear option, right? They're going to put about over 100 through.
We have some things that are very powerful that in many ways you'd like
I
not
couldn't
to do
have said it
but
better myself.
I'm okay.
Because he would.
I'm okay.
He wouldn't approve
These
them.
are obstructionists. These are agitators and obstructionists, the Democrats. Now, I hope it gets back. In the old days, a long time ago, it sort of started with Obama, you want to know the truth. There was a level of unbelievable hatred. And Bush, I was not a big fan of Bush, as you probably know, and you are, so I'm not going to get into
I think
an
he was
argument.
really good.
We don't have to, but I'm a much better golfer than he is, at least. But you know what?
I think you'd agree with that.
Everybody agrees with that. But let me just say, our country is doing
See,
great.
he's just a normal
year ago, we had a
person,
dead
people.
country.
He's
It was
not
a
a
dead,
maniacal
embarrassing country. We had the hottest
totalitarian.
country
Get
anywhere
over
in the world.
yourselves.
Mr. President, see these buildings? A lot of them in New York City you built.
I do.
That's called capitalism, not socialism. We have Mom Donnie, who is ahead in the polls here. What's your reaction?
It's amazing.
It's up by 20.
I call him my little communist. He's my little communist mayor. But, he has to come to Washington for money, a lot of money. And it's amazing. I was so surprised by this. Even the other two candidates, I mean, you look at the candidates. Now, maybe one-on-one somebody could beat him, and I'm not looking at the polls too carefully, but it would look like he's going to win. And that's a rebellion. It's also a rebellion against bad candidates, okay? It's a rebellion. They're tired of it. They're seeing things happening. We have taxes being put on us in New York by Democrats that is so bad that even the Democrats are revolting. It's not possible for a Democrat to lose I did, in the presidential election, I did great in New York. I did great, considering
Right.
it's New York.
Considering it's New York.
I mean, I did great. But there's a lot of question on the voters, on the booths and everything else on the votes. But we should never be in a position where we're talking about a communist. Now, a communist running...
Doesn't like capitalism.
Running what could be, because it's, so badly run. But what could be... I'll tell you, if I were mayor of New York, it would be the greatest city in the world so fast.
Are you going to get more involved?
Because we have such great cops. I looked at the police, New York's finest, last night. They all wanted my picture,
Proud of you.
autographs. They beat the hell out of my hand. My hand is like a wounded warrior. They shake, and they're strong as hell. The police. Some of these guys that.
Oh, wait
that
for
they
it.
can,
The
they
bruised
it's based
hand
on merit
news
again.
story
So now
will be
they're
out
very
again
strong.
next
When they
week.
shake your hand, and some of them are crying. Because they never cried. When they were born, they didn't cry, but now they're crying. Because they love our
proof of
country.
that, but we
They
hear.
love me, and they know it's law and order and stuff that they want common sense. Sir, may I shake your hand? May I please shake your hand? And they're crying, and they're shaking my hand. I'm saying,
But here's why that really matters, to Ainsley's question, is because he's not pro-police. He's pro-social worker, just sending them out there. And if those cops aren't back, they're not going to do their job. So you got Cuomo, Sliwa, and Adams. Are you calling for those three to drop out?
Well, I think they have to have one
Well, one
candidate.
stay.
And it would look to me like Cuomo, frankly, is leading the other two. And look, I'm a Republican, but Curtis is not exactly primetime, He wants cats to be in Gracie Mansion. He wants to open it up as a kid. That's the home, for those that don't know.
He's a good crime fighter.
The magnificent home of the mayor. It's beautiful. Gracie Mansion, to me, is like
Should
a
not have
fabled
cats.
place. If you're in New York, no, we don't need to have thousands of
He
cats.
did
living
want
in
cats to eat the rats.
it looks like, look,
Well, clean up the
Cuomo,
streets
you
and you won't
have a
have
weather
rats.
person here who I happen to think is
Janice
wonderful.
Dane.
And I just told Janice, I said, you are responsible because of her level of passion about what happened with her
The nursing home.
parents-in-law was so incredible against Cuomo that really brought them down. Janice, I hope you're
Yep.
watching because I'm saying it
Sealed
with
his
respect,
fate.
but that brought Cuomo down. Her level
Thank God
of
for
passion,
angels like
what he
Janice.
did with the nursing homes, it was so horrible. Yeah,
fought
but
for all those families.
nobody had the impact that Janice Dean had. I used to watch, and she'd be doing the weather, and then she'd start talking about him. And she was very emotional about it. She definitely loved them. Their parents-in-law, as I understand it, but she definitely loved them. And that was brutal for Cuomo. He seems to be leading by a little bit, but he's still way behind. It almost looks like even one candidate
Wouldn't work.
at this point is not going to
Mr. President, I'm curious because you talk about common sense. Have you had any Democrat pick up the phone and say, Mr. President, let's work together on this?
Well, I did. You know what I did? In the first term, we had the most successful economy ever. My first term was very successful. Everyone says it. I rebuilt the military, cut taxes at the highest level ever, biggest level of regulation, because it was very successful. And if you remember, just prior to COVID, and we did a great job with COVID, but COVID was COVID. The whole world had to suffer with that crazy thing. That was horrible. But we had the most successful economy ever in the history of the world. And Democrats, radical left Democrats even, were calling me and saying, could we get together? I always say, success is going to bring us together.
That's right.
There's nothing else going to bring us together. And this was the ultimate success. We were rocking and rolling, and not as much as we are right now, I'll tell you, because the stock market's now like going crazy, the 401ks, everything else. But we were doing unbelievably well. And Democrats were calling me, sir, I'd love to meet with you. I said, I don't believe it. This guy. It was coming together. The only thing that's going to bring us together is tremendous success.
I understand.
And next week, you go to the UK
Yeah.
for a state dinner, state visit. You and the First Lady will be there with the royal family.
And I also go to a funeral for a great gentleman
Yes.
named Charlie Kirk, who should not be having a funeral right now. He should be out there in front of people. He loved doing it. He was so good at it. And, I mean, he had a big impact on the election. I got so many young voters that no Republicans ever gotten anything close. I dominated with young people, and it's never happened before. And I give him so much credit.
Because he was able to explain your policies, what you stood for.
He could explain them better than anybody. No, but he related better to young people than anybody. I've never seen anybody with any group, him with young people, I've never seen anybody relate to a group like he did.
So just to build on that, because we only have 2 minutes left.
You know, you didn't
Barron.
even have a commercial. This is very...
That's how powerful you are.
Pretty important. I'm very
That's
impressed. I'm saying,
true.
I wonder if they're going to have a
Yeah,
commercial.
if they haven't bought Prevagen yet, I don't think we're going
You
to.
guys are all going to be let go by Rupert or Lachlan. Lachlan's going to let you go.
Right.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, I remember Melania's reaction when you almost got hit. And he said, I had to explain to Barron, that's his father. So what do you explain to Barron? Kai, he's almost peers. He's one of those young people
Charlie
that
loved
Charlie
each
Kirk was
other.
so impressed
He was a
with.
From my
tremendous man.
understanding.
What do you as a dad, and a lot of dads and moms are wondering what to say, what do you say to them?
So Barron's a very good student. And Barron came to me and he said, Dad, I'd like to meet somebody that you know. Who? Charlie Kirk. I said, what? You know, I thought he was going to say, I want to meet like King Charles or something, like we're going to meet soon, right? But he said, really, you want? And I set up a lunch with him, and he came back. He said, that guy's great, Dad. That guy's great. You know, it was cute. He's unbelievable. I don't know what it was. Charlie had a magic over the kids, and large numbers of them, and very diverse.
Again, I say,
Black,
not just over the
white.
kids.
I
Like, I'm
mean,
57.
everybody.
And I wasn't the youngest
young
person
women
at his event.
boys.
So.
And I've never seen anything like it. And it was all good. I mean, it was good stuff. It wasn't some of the stuff you read about where they're in favor of all these horrible things. It was really good stuff. And we lost an unbelievable warrior. And I think they're going to, I have a feeling that Erica, you know, I spoke to her long yesterday. She's devastated. And I said, in between the devastation, she made statements. I said, you should try and do that. Because Turning Point is a real power. And I think she may, and, you know, her group, I think they're going to
Rally around
keep
her.
it together. And you know, things like that have happened before. You make it bigger, better, stronger. I said, only do it if you're going to make it bigger and better. Can you do it? But I didn't want to talk about that too much because she was just, she can't, you know, it's going to take her a while to get better from this.
He's right about
little
that.
ones.
You don't want to
and
take
beautiful,
something on
beautiful
with
kids.
somebody's legacy
But I'll never
and
forget
then
Barron
ruin it.
coming back saying, Dad, that guy's
So,
great. You know,
that's a good
normally
point.
he's not full of praise.
What do you tell him now?
He was very hurt when he saw this. But, I mean, everybody was. Oh, when I heard it, I was in the midst of, you know, building a great, for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom at the White House, right? They don't have a ballroom. They have to use tents on the lawn for President Xi when he comes over. If it rains, it's a wipeout. And so I was with the architects and with design. It's going to be incredible. And they came in, they said, Charlie Kirk is dead. I didn't know what they meant. I said, what do you mean dead? Charlie Kirk was shot. And they thought he was dead because it was so horrific, you know. And I said, dead? And it was like, I just told these people, get out, just go, you got it. This is the worst thing. This was so bad for our country. But sometimes out of really bad things, things can happen that can be good.
Mr. President, we got the news conference.
He is. You take the news conference.
Yeah.
He's a great man, and he's going to be more important because of what happened.
Thank
Not
you
going to
so
help
much,
his
Mr.
family.
President.
But
Thank
that's
you
the
so
way it
much,
is.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you, sir.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Praying
turn it
for
over.
you and your life, too.
Thank
You
you.
be careful.
We're turning it over to Bill and Dana with this press conference that's coming up at the top of the hour.
Thank you, guys. And our coverage
Okay,
continues
here we
here on
go.
the Fox
We're
News
waiting
channel, and
for
we
this
begin with
press
what appears to be
conference.
major news in a late-night press.
This is America's one was pained.
Let's get
Absolutely.
straight
person
into it. We might as well
came
fast
and
forward until we get to the press
Well,
conference. I'm sure it's not going to be that much
Past
longer.
and where
Of yesterday looks like from my
We had the really
thing, know what kind of from the big. You can see it's the
Ghana.
obvious.
he's that to be.
Well, that's a bonus that they're running late. They probably saw that the president was
Like he's got
running
there
on,
some
so they
rifle.
thought,
Age would be passed. Oh, this at the
shuffle through there.
Well, let me just back up. Got a long.
The tip or
Ghana.
the
if there was ever a case where we're
17 minutes away.
forensics, that I guarantee you quantico execution happens in this case because
Okay,
all the
looks
other
like it's been delayed.
are encouraged.
Jump to the start. Just
Hey,
jump
when,
to the
when you,
live.
when
think
you say
that
a,
is a
when you say
great
a,
outcome.
when you say a
And,
mountain of evidence,
what we might do
just
is,
go ahead and tick that off for us. And just over the past 36 or 40 hours.
let's just listen to
So
this
it
for a little
started
bit, see what
certainly
they're up
with
to.
the video.
Read some of these
And we
lines on the
have
bottom.
pictures of his clothing. We have what looks like a cell phone stuck in his pocket. There would have been, if he was carrying a cell phone, evidence as he moved, and he moved quite a bit, tracking him from cell tower triangulation to cell tower triangulation.
You
So if they
freaking
have the clothes or
dumbass.
they can find those things, they'll be able to
Can't
visually
believe people
match
even
those
thought
things
this
up.
was a
Then you've got
professional
the
hit.
issue of
I
the
knew it from the very
sneakers. Now,
beginning it was
certainly
just a
shoe print
lone
evidence
nut job.
is not as dispositive. It's not as good as something like DNA or latent fingerprints, but it adds to that mountain. The DNA from him touching the rounds of ammunition, a lot of people would be surprised to know that just by touching a single cartridge casing, not only are you leaving partial latent fingerprints, but you're
DNA,
leaving
baby.
touch DNA on there. That can be exploited. It can be extracted by the FBI. I guarantee the lab has already done that. And then
These,
lastly, once they've
headlines
wrung
seem to
every
be
bit of evidence out of
delayed.
that firearm, to include ATF, my old employer, tracing it through the importation marks, because we're talking about a very old firearm here that has likely been resold. Once you have all of that, then you're going to actually do a test firing of that
Yeah,
weapon, and
I
you're
wouldn't
going to
be
try to
surprised
match
if
the
you
bullet
find
that
out that it
came
was
out
his
of there to the
grandfather's or
bullet
something
that
like
killed
that.
Charlie Kirk. So quite a bit of evidence sitting at hand.
Thank you
know.
for recapping that. That gives us great
I don't
perspective.
know why, but the picture that
It is
I remember
9:20 here on the
seeing
East Coast. It's
yesterday
7:20 in the morning there
was
in Orem,
the
Utah. You're
gun
looking
looked
at
like
the
it had
podium there
been
where we will hear from the
spray-painted
official
white.
momentarily.
So,
We expect the governor, Spencer Cox, to be
who
back in that
knows?
room as he has been many times.
It's,
We'll get the FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino in that room, and perhaps this time they will take questions. Stand by for all of that. The reason why this is getting so much momentum. Yeah, the press conference 12 hours
reason-
ago in Orem, Utah, with the video that was so critical, walking
The
through the
reason it's
neighborhood
getting so much
that we aired on
momentum
our
is because
broadcast here on the Fox News channel last night. You also had the
he
video of
killed
the person of interest at the
family
time
member.
jumping off that roof. And then last hour on Fox and Friends, this is the news the president broke when he came in for his interview.
I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. So much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But yeah, I think we're in great shape.
Mr.
And
President.
he's in custody.
So that was the news 1 hour and 20 minutes ago, and now we wait for all this to be confirmed, Dana, and we'll see what they
Yes,
have
we
to say
do.
to add on to that significant
let's
headline
just,
this morning, Dana.
Want to bring back Paul Morrow.
drop the voice in here and get. Okay, so great news. That is great news. They have the suspect in custody. It is 99.999% confirmed. What we are going to be waiting for at this press conference, I would suggest, would be a name, circumstances. I doubt they're going to give us much about what they've questioned him about. They're going to tell us his age, whether he identifies as a he, she, or a he, or a he or a she. We're going to find out whether he attended the school or not, whether he was a subject of one of Charlie's prior debates, maybe. We're most certainly going to find out the steps leading up to and from the scene. As you've all seen today, I don't want to jump into the footage that has been presented, which I would have had I known that this this guy, and you know, I had a feeling when I did my show the other night that it wasn't going to take long to round this guy up, and I think I put a post somewhere saying I hope that by tomorrow morning. Oh, that's right. I was in my private Discord chat. I hope that by the time I wake up tomorrow morning, they have got a killer in their handcuffs. And it appears that my wish came true, although a little later in the day, it is now 10:53 p.m. here in Australia, and the following morning over there. So, you know, look at this. 2 days. Took them 2 days to catch this guy. And despite what President Trump said about Pam Bondi, this is kudos to Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. And it is also kudos to all of the people that turned him in. And I've been posting all over Facebook and Twitter and everything today. I knew this would happen. As soon as they upped that reward to $1 million, because it was at 100,000, and I thought to myself, $100,000 isn't really, in this economy, let's face it, if you're going to do something to a mate or a friend or a family member to claim money for it, rather than because you're doing the right thing, $100,000 isn't much of an incentive these days. So once Bill Ackman upped it to $1 million, I knew that the circles would start closing in. And these pictures, especially the one in the sunlight with him coming down the stairs, if you know this person, you're going to know this person because he would have attended a barbecue or a family party dressed in exactly that attire. Maybe not that exact T-shirt, but that sort of attire. He would have had a hat on. You would have seen him walking around with sunglasses in the daytime. He would have had those jeans. Those jeans looked almost, they don't quote me, but they could have been designer. Somebody would have said, oh, I know those Calvin Kleins. It's dumb for anyone these days to think, and you could see that he was positioned, he has staked it out before, and I think you will find that if they go back, and they may have already done this, they would have gone back through the camera. Once they spotted this guy on the college campus cameras, excuse me, they would have then said, right, we need to go back day until we find him again and see the last time he was here. And what did he do then? We need to track him around the campus. What did he do then? Was he here on the day that they were setting up the things? Did he come in the morning? Was he anywhere on campus in the morning? We need the film. So I'm sorry. I mean, if you ask me, everybody in the world has issues with Pam Bondi. That's a fight for justice type of person. But in saying that, Pam Bondi doesn't have should not be taking any credit for the apprehension of this person. There will be credit her way when he is sentenced for the needle. Like I said earlier, I would prefer that he got a firing squad. That's what I would prefer. And if they can do that in Utah, I think I heard somewhere that they're talking about what would be the possibility of public hanging, well, maybe not public hanging, but hanging, and firing squad. He may have a choice. I wouldn't give him a choice. I'd just say, mate, firing squad, boom, that's how you killed Charlie. What are you, afraid of a bullet? And you know what? If I was the firing squad, I might write a little goodbye note on my bullet. As far as I'm concerned, he's no more important to keep alive than a rabid dog. Why would you? Okay, so here's what we know. What we know is he was turned in by family members and friends. I believe perhaps the way it went might have been, this is just me summarising and surmising, that his friends noticed his picture and contacted his parents, and his parents obviously convinced him that there is no getting away with this and he needs to turn himself in, and let's do it in a way that nobody's going to shoot and kill you, son, and I'll drive you to the police station, the sheriff's office. That's my summation and thinking of how this played out. But I think that the minute those pictures came out, and kudos to the FBI for getting them, apparently there was some struggle with getting them, and Kash Patel had to like lean in. But regardless of that, they got them, and the sooner they put them out, the sooner they could have eyes on them. And it is incumbent on even the lamestream media to have put those pictures out. That would be complete negligence if they did not. They could say whatever they want about them, but as long as that face was out there, everyone was seeing it. So that also is immediately put downward pressure on this kid. You'll see in my intro blurb that I put the I think I classified him as the no, what did I do? How did I write it? Oh, let me just check this. No. Yes, that's what it is. Sorry. I classified this child as a treacherous teen because I think what we'll find is, especially based on the information that we know, that his father drove him in. I'm not saying that he doesn't drive, but I'm saying that he's young. And I would hazard a guess and say he was no more than 19. Now, this is all information that nobody knows yet. I'm just putting it out there. But we will soon see. I believe it's been moved to 9:30, which it is now 9:30. So hopefully it will be heading our way shortly. So God bless President Trump, but the fact that he continues to praise Pam Bondi when the situation does not warrant annoys me a little bit. I'm a self-confessed Trumpian, but it does annoy me when he talks about, you know, things like the vaccines helping people, because I think if all the true facts were collated, you would find that the vaccine hurt more people than it helped in the whole long-term scheme of things. And the danger isn't over for those who are living with that in their body. So, you know, there's that. I think what he neglected to say on Fox and Friends, he neglected to really, as far as I could remember, give Kash and Dan any sort of... I mean, I know he mentioned the FBI and the good work they were doing, but I don't know if he mentioned Kash and Dan specifically. If he did, my apologies. But so I was just saying before that when they found the gun, the first photograph, I think I saw it on a news broadcast, could have been louder with Crowder. It seemed like it had been spray painted white. It certainly wasn't white when he was on the roof. So that would have stood out like a, you know, I don't want to say, you know, the old sore thumb. Would have stuck out like a sore thumb. But, and I highly doubt that he stopped to spray paint it white before he ran off, continued on his way. I would be interested to know what he had in the backpack. Did he have a change of clothing? Did he have a hoodie? Did he have... we've seen I'm sure everybody by now has seen the film of him prior to the shooting, walking down to the area with that definite limp. Yes, 100%. He had the gun in his hand, in his right leg, and concealed it under the top of his, because he couldn't have had it much past the bend of his knee. Otherwise, yeah, it would have just been too obvious. So you'll see that he had it concealed up here and then continued it down into his leg. He would have had to find a spot once he got to the school or to the area where he was going to climb the stairs to remove the weapon from that positioning, and that would probably be would have been extremely risky to do it in the stairwell or prior to the stairwell. So conceivably, could he have climbed the building to get up there in the first place? Because he definitely doesn't have it in his leg in those photographs. I'm not sure. The rifle that they've described doesn't really break down that much that he could fit it in that backpack. So, you know. Okay, are we going to this? Or is he just testing? Looks like he's talking.
Stand by as we continue to wait for this press conference. Given a moment ago, we were given a word a moment ago that this has been delayed slightly. How much it's delayed, we do not know. But as we await that, CB Cotton's working her story, her sources on the ground there on this story as well. She is also live on the campus there, Orem, Utah. And CB, what do you have for us? Hello there.
Hey, Bill, good morning. So as we just heard from colleague David Spunt, the suspect has now been identified as Tyler Robinson, and we are hoping to learn more about who this person is at this news conference.
Robinson.
But we heard this morning President Trump seemed to suggest that a person close to Tyler turned him in. What I'm hearing from one federal source, I just got a note from, is that this suspect's father turned him in last night in southern Utah. And all of these moving parts come as the FBI made a huge push yesterday for more information, asking the public, come forward if you recognize this person. And after that big push from the FBI, you know, it seemed like things were moving here on the ground. We had a news conference that got pushed back several times yesterday. We also heard the president explain again how the timeline of this. He said a minister here in Utah who was friends with a U.S. Marshal got involved, and at that point, the father was contacted. And again, I'm hearing from a federal source that it was Tyler Robinson's father who turned in his son. We saw that new video yesterday, chilling, showing the gunman moving quickly across the roof and then dropping one story down before running through the parking lot. And we also learned from the FBI that the shooter then discarded the gun in a wooded area. We also got those newly released surveillance pictures of the shooter, giving us an up-close look at the shooter's face and the clothing he was wearing. And now the major development today is waiting to hear more and learn more about who Tyler Robinson is, what's his background, and, you know, what was the planning that he presumably did to take that fatal shot towards Charlie Kirk, who was speaking to a crowd of about 3,000 supporters here on this campus. Bill, I want to send it back over to you.
Thank you, CB. Stand by for more from you and others there in Utah. CB Cotton. Dana?
Daniel Linsky is a former Boston police superintendent, and he was a police chief during the Boston Marathon bombing. And earlier this morning, before we knew that President Trump was going to be able to tell us that they had found the suspect, I was so excited to talk to you because
I've just muted it for a second there because speaking of the Boston bombing, one of the things that I did point out from the press conference was that they had the largest amount of tips since the Boston bombing. Now, the reason that's important, the Boston bombing happened before January 6th. So what does that tell you about how much people loved and respected Charlie Kirk? There you have it. I'm so sorry, January 6th Commission, but you and your lot were criminals from the start, and with any luck, after this twerp, asshole, ratbag, disgusting piece of shit dies in jail, way before he dies in jail, you find yourself neighbours with the piece of crap. That's what I want. That's what I want to see. I'm so sick of it. I'm way beyond putting people in jail and waiting for justice. Unbelievable. Like, this is now, I'll tell you what I'm a bit worried about is this delay, but if they're naming names and his father's driven him in, this kid is the one. There is no, I don't think that there is any disputing that. I think you'll find that he's going to try and weasel out of it by blaming something, blaming someone, saying that I have no idea what the excuse is going to be, but he's going to use one. And like I said, it could even just be, poor me, I didn't mean to hit him, I just tried to scare him, but he moved. No, sorry, that doesn't wash lovey. Doesn't matter what you tried to do, doesn't matter what your intention was in this fucking case, you are dying in prison in the most excruciating possible way, I hope. I would like a firing squad or a slow hang. That's what I'd like. Like, don't just drop him through the door. Just gently. Let him twitch a little. I don't have any compassion for this gentleman. I'm sorry. You killed somebody that, who, though not a personal friend of mine, was very, very important to me. And he was very, very important to our movement. The movement of freeing our countries from dictatorial governments and socialists who dream of nothing but a communist country under their control. We are not in this for that. We are not in this to put people's lives at risk. Why do you feel you have the right to put ours at risk? The common sense thing to do would be sit and talk. The common sense thing to do would be face the demons that keep haunting you about whatever it is that drove you to this madness, this waste of life, waste of two lives, yours and his. Because your life will never be the same. You're going to be somebody's bitch, mate. If you don't spend every last living moment in solitary confinement till you walk the fucking Green Mile, your life as you know it is over. It's fucking over. So whether you want to admit it or not, you failed. You completely failed. And as a warning to everybody else, you should admit that you completely failed and tell them it's not worth it. Put your guns away and talk. Open the conversation. Don't shut it down permanently. You don't have the right. You just don't have the right to do that. Oh, what's happened here? Sorry, I'm just adjusting something on my X. Open. Right, that's better. Now we're going. Yeah, I'm sorry. You have no sympathy from this party here, this independent person that's also trying to do what Charlie was doing with his life, giving people the opportunity to have their voices heard. That's all he was doing. Somebody put it very well. All he did was sit down at a table. That's all he did. And if he ever did, which is a possibility, he may have been interviewed by Charlie before this campus event. He may have lost poorly, which most of these idiots usually do, sadly for them, and been permanently scarred and embarrassed by it. He might have been, maybe he's a normal guy. Maybe he was like taunted by his prospective girlfriends after the event. Maybe he's been just itching for this moment for Charlie to come back because of that burning desire to eradicate the person that embarrassed him. I think all of that's going to come out. I believe the father has turned him in because, as I stated at the top of the show, he is going to need the money to find this guy a lawyer, find this kid a lawyer, because he doesn't look like he's a man of means, which is why I say I think you'll find that the gun belonged to his father or his grandfather. That would be my first suspicion as to, because parents are going to do one of two things. They're either going to turn you in, reward or no, or they're going to hide you out. Okay? That's what a parent does. Remember Landry and, goodness me, what was her name? The girl that was murdered by her boyfriend out in the middle of nowhere. Petito, Gabby Petito, I think, and her boyfriend's name was something Landry. I don't really care about his name, just like I really don't care about this Tyler's name, but I'm glad that we have it. I'm glad that they have him in custody because nobody's more deserving. Now I hope they start rounding up these fuckers that have been celebrating with dances and songs and disgusting social media posts and just totally obliterate their lives. I think one of the posts I made today was that because a lot of these posts like outing these people say, let's make them famous. My point of view is, and I have been reposting but not to make them famous. I don't want to make these people famous at all. I just want their lives to become as miserable. I want them to become pariahs in their own communities. I want them to feel 1 inch of the pain and suffering that Erica and the children and everyone in close circles with Charlie and the family are feeling right now. And that won't even be tantamount to what we're feeling, what we're all feeling. Even just that amount of isolation and obscurity, that's not enough for those disgusting people. And they're coming, they come in all ages, all fucking ages they're coming. You can see the video there in the side. Hang on, let me just swap screens. So that's the video of him like limping down the street, obviously heading towards the university. It doesn't have a timestamp, but I'd like to know what that guy's saying. He's probably informing the press of something. Is there further delays or what? I don't know. But And there's the footage of him jumping up. So you can see, I wish they would make this bigger, but you can see completely clearly for me, and like I know I'm an amateur, right there, that was the gun. He's rested the gun on the gutter. He grabs the gutter, gets his footing. He grabs the gun over the side and then jumps. And as he's jumping, whatever the gun's wrapped in is sticking out like a flagpole, straight and erect, excuse my French. I don't want people to giggle when they say, oh, she said erect. But that's, so you can see. Now, he had the opportunity to, like, casually and calmly then walk off into the fucking wooded area that is right behind that main road that he crosses. You can just see it from the top of the rooftop, over the top of the rooftops. Yeah, so do you know what? Good on his father, good on his mother for turning him in. Now, I don't know how it came about. I don't know whether he told his parents first or he got home and was completely agitated knowing what he had done. Obviously, he would have been tracking the news. He would have heard. I'm not sure how it unfolded after he obviously got home and acted like nothing had happened for like at least 24 to 48 hours. So, you know, I'll be interested to know when they picked him up. See, as I said, a lot of people are saying, oh, yeah, they've got nothing. Even up to the last press conference, we don't know where he is. We've got nothing. This is a strategy to make the perpetrator feel like the police are scrambling, law enforcement's scrambling. They need the public's help. So he was probably perfectly comfortable going back home. Because all the media was on about yesterday was, don't have a suspect, don't have a suspect. The suspect that was in custody, the subject that was in custody is now being released. Second subject was in custody is now being released. So it continued on and on and on like that. Look at this poor lady. Oh my God, she's just totally broken. Oh God. Well, it's good to see this little lady's still got her Secret Service job. She was one of Biden's protectees. Looks like she's in the permanent roster for JD Vance. It's simply tragic. It really is, guys. I don't know how else to describe it except just completely and utterly tragic. Like this kid, he's gone. He's gone for all intents and purposes. He's gone. He's got a needle in his needle halfway up his arm already. This is bigger than OJ and Nicole Brown. Only in the fact that Charlie Kirk was so loved, so well known. Nicole Brown was OJ's wife. Yes, she had her own career to a degree, which was assisted by her marriage to OJ. Because we all know she was the what's the word? The escort, the woman at the front desk when you go into a restaurant. That's how she met OJ. She was that person. So, you know, this is why I say this is bigger than OJ. I suspect that this trial is going to be pretty straightforward. I think they're going to have... Oh, look, we're jumping in now. I think they're going to have a full confession and he's going to plead guilty. I don't think it's going to go to trial, to be honest. So and I think they're gonna make him know that they've got the, and if he, I don't care if he pleads guilty. No removing the death penalty. You don't take the death penalty off the table. None of this Coburger's bullshit, all right? He's going to fucking the ground, just like Charlie. And preferably, it's not going to take 150 fucking years to get it there, all right? I would like to see him in the ground before the end of President's administration. Fuck his, you know, get him to do that bullshit. I want him to plead guilty with the death penalty on the table. I want him to have to elocute his crime at the time of pleading guilty. None of this Coburger bullshit. We don't want to see any... Oh, here we go.
Hearing from a friend the other day whose
hang on.
teens were
No,
watching
they're
the
just
video
testing
over and
it.
over, and you know, absolutely unacceptable. But in terms of you know, a friend, meaning that he didn't want his children to have that on their minds. And there used to be videos like this that would sort of go out there in a conspiratorial way, but now they're in everyone's phones. President Trump did not watch the video, and I think that he would agree. I'm wondering what you think from an investigatory standpoint of getting these off the internet.
You know, you can try, but at this point, that's all
Yeah,
over the place, and
that's
you're never
just-
going to pull that back
Yeah.
entirely.
That
What you do in law
genie's out of the
enforcement and
bottle.
investigative
Sorry, dear.
sense is if you get a hold
Somebody's
of this
already
sort of stuff
downloaded it
before the
and,
public's aware of it
me
writ
included.
large, before everybody knows
Because
about it,
as
you get a
they
takedown
as time
order
was
and things
ticking
like
away,
that where
I
you
was
can pull it
worried
off
that
because
they
you're
were
trying
going
to
to need
preserve
copies
evidence
of
for
it, and
various
some
reasons, and you don't want the public to know
social
about
media
it. But
freaking
with
hack
this
was gonna
one,
delete
the
everything
ship
off
sailed, and I
Facebook
have to say,
or,
you know, I've watched
Twitter
the
and that.
video all
X,
at
sorry.
once. You know, I was in
You
the
know
air
what
on the
I
way
mean?
down
So
to Florida
there's
to
been-
cover
and
the
I
Ryan
have
Roof
not
trial,
reproduced any
another
of the film. I've
attempted
just kept
political
it for my own
assassination in
personal,
that case.
you know,
And
in case
I didn't know about this
needed
till
or
I
they
hit the
wanted or
ground.
whatever the
I saw
case may
some
be.
reporting. I was incredulous.
So
I clicked on
there's-
something, and then I
there's
saw
no
the entire video,
taking
and I said to
that
myself,
back.
once
That genie's
is
way
enough.
out of the bottle.
And, you know, look, if you are a parent, I don't see any reason why you have to risk desensitizing your children to seeing that video over and over. And one of the things I often bring up when we are
Yeah, I
talking
agree
about
with
this
that.
kind of an issue is, can you imagine, Dana, what the video would have looked like if the Butler shooter had been slightly more accurate, a video that would have been beamed around the world? Thank God that went the way it went, and poor Charlie Kirk for it having gone the way it went here.
No doubt. You know, with technology, Paul, when you're on a certain app or you're on your computer and
Do it by
yeah,
accident.
and 100%, even though you try to avoid it. Okay, so
Yeah.
we've been given a 4-minute warning 2 minutes ago, so we're a couple
Okay,
minutes away
so
from
we're a
this
couple of
beginning. We
minutes
will
out.
hear from the governor, Spencer Cox.
All right, let's.
He's been at just about every one of these hearings and tends to lead it too.
Mute that. Okay, so yeah, we've got 2 minutes. Right, so where are we? We were talking about that video of him and being able to dismantle that gun. Like, we've got a bolt action, may not be the same, exactly the same length, or it's definitely not the same model. Checked with my husband to make sure, and when the barrel comes off, it's about that big. So the possibility is that he had it all together, as I said, down underneath the shirt. But see, these are the pictures here with him walking up the stairs there. There's definitely doesn't seem to have anything obstructing his movement in those photographs, and that looks like how he got to the top of the building, because those stairs they look like they're outdoors. They're not enclosed inside the building. It looks like he made his way to the top of the building without entering the building, then escaped the building the fastest way possible, which was straight across the roof, perfectly flat roof. and jumped off the edge, which wasn't that high. Lots of people, like, he had a good footing and he dropped himself accordingly. He didn't seem like he was under pressure because, of course, everybody's attention was on our brother Charlie dying on the quadrangle. I just can't believe that this poor man's gone. Like, I shook his hand. I stood there right next to him and took a photo with him with my husband. I just can't believe it. I cannot fathom the pain and anguish his wife is going through right now. It's obscene for me to even want to think about. I don't know. Let me know how you feel, guys. Please, please, like, throw me some chats. So I can see what you're feeling about this at this moment in time. I know how I've been feeling, and I've been quite openly expressing that. And just sending a message in my live chat here to one of my biggest fans. Love you, darling. I hope you're still awake. Hope you're still awake. But don't stay up too late because I don't want you to hurt yourself at work. And I think that it's important to express how you feel. Like, my husband probably thought I was a lunatic when I woke him up at 4 o'clock in the morning and said, "Oh my God, I think Charlie Kirk is dead. They shot him. I think he's dead." And I was bawling my eyes out. I was literally bawling my eyes out like my father had died. It's like, that's the strength of a bond, an instant rapport that Charlie Kirk was able to create with somebody in an instant, in just an instant that the few moments that we shared with him that night, which just seems like a lifetime ago now. Well, it was Charlie's lifetime ago. That it was instant. Do you understand what I mean by that? Because I'm not the only one that has experienced that from Charlie Kirk. And sadly, no one else will be able to ever experience that because of this twerp. Like I said, I don't have the ability to find compassion. And I know right now, you can quote me, you heard it here first, I know for a fact that his wife is going to come out, because she is as good a Christian as she is, and say that she forgives him. 100. Can count 100 on that. Because, you know, there was just no need for it. This was a senseless, useless, and pointless murder. JFK was murdered because his administration, he was currently in office, he had power to make the change. And so it seems, from my aspect, the Russians, the Cubans, and his own government didn't like what he was doing and they took him out. I think you might find the same thing happened with his brother and, of course, Martin Luther King. These political assassinations have a basis in hatred and a basis in fear. Hatred is born of the fear that they are losing control of their environment because of the administration in power. Charlie Kirk was not completely obviously separate from political ideologies and definitely political personalities. He was close with many, many, many of them, for that matter, including, I would say, Gavin Newsom. Lucky for Gavin Newsom, he got to meet him before he died. And I will say what I said when I saw his post, is that he only posted that because he had the great fortune to have met Charlie and realised what kind of a person he was. And he probably should have, like, blessed his chair for, like, his aura and presence for even ever sitting in it, in his presence. That's just who Charlie was. And the way I talk about him, like I know him, people might think that's strange, but I feel like I know him. Not just from from that moment that we met, but also other things. Okay, looks like we're going now. Everybody's running around with their heads cut off.
Even on those wide open, great West American highways.
It's truly one of the most beautiful places in America with those great red rocks. And St. George, Utah is actually quite a retirement community. And the town has grown by leaps and bounds as we see the officials walk in here. Kash Patel, the FBI director there.
Mute myself
to the left.
And everybody listen.
At today's press conference, we will hear from Governor Cox, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Sheriff Mike Smith. We also have with us Utah DPS Commissioner Bo Mason, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, FBI Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, and local and federal law enforcement partners. Following the remarks today, Governor Cox, Director Patel, and Commissioner Mason will take questions. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate. roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. I know there has been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I will share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Symbol and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who has worked seamlessly together, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount of time to find this person and to bring justice. I want to thank the public who has been so engaged, reviewing videos, helping us with sending in tips, and helping us get to this point. I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into law enforcement as well. I especially want to thank the family of Charlie Kirk, Erica, Charlie's parents, his children. I want us to be thinking of them as we bring justice in this case. They will be involved in that justice. We will be working very closely with them as we move through this process as well. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah. But I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history. With that, I will now turn the microphone over to the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. The FBI and our partners are proud to stand here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump, the Vice President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive with both resources and just personally to the FBI as a team. They had our backs the entire way, and I just want to express my gratitude for giving us the resources we need to operate in this space to bring this sort of justice at this sort of speed. In 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie. Governor Cox, our partnership has been absolutely incredible these last few days. Our partnership will endure. Your state and local partners, your sheriffs, your DPS community has been unbelievably impressive in the hardest of times. in a case like this cannot be solved, cannot be brought without partnering with your state and local authorities. The FBI has a certain role to play, and we will play that role, and we will lead out for the federal government. But Governor Cox, we are so grateful for your state partnership that led out on this investigation. A little bit of the timeline. Charlie was shot at 12:23 p.m. on Wednesday. The first FBI agents arrived on scene in 16 minutes with chiefs of police at 12:39 and secured the scene. The FBI immediately launched fixed-wing assets. We utilized these assets to transport personnel, specialty technicians, hostage rescue teams. We also utilized these assets to go back and forth from the East Coast and here in Utah to transport forensic evidence and other evidence that will be analyzed and is being analyzed at our FBI laboratories in Quantico and other laboratories, including the ATF. At my direction, the FBI released the first set of FBI photos of the suspect at 10 a.m. local time on 9/11. Then, shortly thereafter, the FBI reward of $100,000 was released at 10:45 a.m. local. Myself and Deputy Director Bongino arrived on the scene at approximately 5:30 p.m. on 9/11. The governor led a press conference last night at approximately 8 p.m., where at my direction, the FBI released a never-before-seen video of the suspect. We also released new images to the public of the suspect. And just last night, the suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said. This would not have been possible without you, the media,
the wrong
and you, the
circle.
public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency. The crime scene, just a little bit there. It is a large crime scene. State and local authorities, along with federal authorities, processed that crime scene quickly. And I even had the ability to walk through that crime scene and walk through the steps the suspect took to learn more about what was needed and what resources we needed to bear to create a full picture for the FBI and leadership back in Washington. Furthermore, thankfully to state and local partners, forensic evidence has been seized and continues to be garnered. Forensic evidence has already been evaluated at FBI laboratories in Quantico and state and local authorities here. We will continue to process evidence as we see it, as we collect it, and we will continue to deliver it to Governor Cox and his team. Last night, we had a total of approximately 7,000 leads. As of this morning, thanks to your great work, we have over 11,000 leads that were called in to the FBI. And we are running out every single lead that we can. Every one of those leads will be run out. The arrest is a testament to the dedication of good law enforcement.
They have to do that because they need every ounce of evidence.
And partnerships in law enforcement, which I've tried to highlight as my tenure as the director of the FBI. There is no better relationship for law enforcement than the FBI to partner with state and local authorities, and you've seen it here in these last few days. The FBI Salt Lake Field Office, along with our offices in LA, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, our headquarters component in Quantico, all participate in the FBI. I want to express my deep gratitude to the employees of the FBI, the men and women, the evidence response team tacticians, the special operators, the agents, the support staff. You have done monumental work in historic time when the public, who had a right to demand such an expeditious solving of an investigation, the FBI answered that call diligently, critically important to our nation, and we delivered. And I'm proud to be their leader, and I'm proud to be the director of the FBI. This is a very much an ongoing investigation, as the governor said, and we will continue to work with state and local authorities to develop the investigation, to provide them the evidence they need for their ongoing prosecutions, and we will be here to answer every call they absolutely have, as long as it takes, for as long as we need to find and apprehend whatever suspects were involved in this crime. Lastly,
so they're saying that
to my friend Charlie
that knew
Kirk,
of it or suspected it
rest
could
now, brother.
possibly be wrapped
we have
up
the
in
watch,
this.
and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Oh.
Thank you, and good morning. I would just like to take a few minutes as the sheriff to express my gratitude for everybody who has played a part in this investigation. As you know, it's been a vast, a complicated, and a very, very fast-paced investigation. You're looking at people standing up here who are running on, if they got an hour's sleep in the last couple of days, they're probably lucky. It has been very taxing. It has been so impressive, speaking on behalf of the local law enforcement, to see the cooperation that we've seen in this type of case. Across the state, sheriffs, chiefs, our state partners have stepped up and have come to the call on anything that we needed. Our county chiefs have been phenomenal. Our Utah County Attorney, Jeff Gray, who's standing up here with us, has been phenomenal in leading us through this investigation. I would like to thank the federal government for their resources, their assets. Our local team here, our FBI team, has been extraordinary in helping us work through this and bring this person to justice. Most of all, I would like to thank the public, and specifically, I would like to thank the public who turned to prayers and who turned to positiveness for us. I would like to thank them on behalf of the law enforcement community, because we needed those prayers. That's what we needed to get through this. We needed your support, and you gave it to us. We needed your patience, and you gave it to us. And I would like to thank you for the Kirk family, because that's what they need, is your support and your prayers, and that will get us through all of this. So thank you, everybody, for everybody that have stepped up. We've had such a phenomenal response to this. Thank you.
I also want to give a special thanks to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice. Their unwavering support
here we go.
and their commitment to justice is shown true here. And without AG Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and the resources they brought to bear, we would not have been able to complete our mission. And I just want to say special thanks. It's an honor to be a part of the Department of Justice.
Thank you again to our incredible law enforcement team who has worked so hard. Sheriff, I got a solid 90 minutes last night, so I'm probably the most well-rested person up here. Ladies and gentlemen, I get the microphone, so I hope you'll permit me a moment just to share a few more thoughts about where we are and how we got here, and maybe a little bit of where we go from here. I don't want to get too preachy, but I think it's important that we, with eyes wide open, understand what's happening in our country today. I've heard people say, well, why are we so invested in this? There's violence happening all across our country, and violence is tragic everywhere. And every life taken is a child of God who deserves our love and respect and dignity. This is certainly about the tragic death, political assassination of Charlie Kirk. But it is also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on the American experiment. It is an attack on our ideals. This cuts to the very foundation of who we are, of who we have been, and who we could be in better times. Political violence is different than any other type of violence for lots of different reasons. One, because in the very act that Charlie championed of expression, that freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act, makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas, that they can speak freely. We will never be able to solve all the other problems, including the violence problems that people are worried about, if we can't have a clash of ideas safely and securely. Even, especially those ideas with which you disagree. That's why this matters so much. Over the last 48 hours, I have been as angry as I have ever been, as sad as I have ever been. And it was, as anger pushed me to the brink, it was actually Charlie's words that pulled me back. I'd like to share some of those. And specifically right now, if I could, I need to talk to the young people in our state, in my state, and all across the country. As President Trump reminded me, he said, you know who really loved Charlie? The youths. And he's right. Young people loved Charlie, and young people hated Charlie. And Charlie went into those places
and Charlie
anyway.
walked into their den.
And these are the words that have helped me. Charlie said, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. He said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. The only way out of the labyrinth of suffering is to forgive. Welcome without judgment, love without condition, forgive without limit. He said, always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. A few months ago, I referenced this last night, Charlie posted to social media, when things are moving very fast and people are losing their minds, it's important to stay grounded. Turn off your phone, read scripture, spend time with friends, and remember, internet fury is not real life. It's going to be okay. He again said, when you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to commit violence. He said, what we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have a reasonable agreement, where violence is not an option. Now, again, to my young friends out there, you are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. It feels like rage is the only option. But through those words, we have a reminder that we can choose a different path. Your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now. Not by pretending differences don't matter, but by embracing our differences and having those hard conversations. I think we need more moral clarity right now. I hear all the time that words are violence. Words are not violence. Violence is violence. And there is one person responsible for what happened here. And that person is now in custody and will be charged soon and will be held accountable. And yet,
to the
all of
fullest
us
extent of Utah
have an
law,
opportunity
one
right now
hopes.
to do something different. I want to thank my fellow Utahns. You know, this bad stuff happens. For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped for, just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here. And indeed, Utah is a special place. We lead the nation in charitable giving. We lead the nation in service every year. But it did happen here. And it was one of us. But
wow, this
I
guy's
want
got a
you
head
to
on his
look at
shoulders.
how
He's
Utahns
doing really well.
reacted the last 2 nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire.
Yeah.
There's no violence.
Funny that.
There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes, because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. But see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us. We get to make decisions. We have our agency. And I desperately call on every American, Republican, Democrat, liberal, progressive, conservative, MAGA, all of us to please, please, please follow what Charlie taught me. I'll just conclude with words I share often from a friend and author, Yuval Levin, who was asked if he was optimistic about our country. And he said, I'm not optimistic. He said, I hate optimism. God, that sounds bad. But he said, optimism is a vice. It's this idea that good things are just going to happen. And he said, in the history of the world, good things have never just happened. He says, I'm not optimistic, but I am hopeful. And hope is the virtue that sits between the vices of optimism and pessimism. Hope is the idea that good things are going to happen because we can make them so. I still believe in our country. And I know Charlie Kirk believed in our country. I still believe that there is more good among us than evil. And I still believe that we can change the course of history. I'm hopeful because Americans can make it so. Ladies and gentlemen, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Governor, can you please speak to whether the suspect is speaking with authorities and his demeanor, Tyler Robinson, when he turned himself in?
I cannot speak to that right now.
Governor, how do you interpret the engravings on Casey?
Well, I will leave that up to you to interpret what those engravings mean. I think the clearest one that says "catch fascist," there's not, and by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this. That's I think that speaks for itself.
Governor, you indicated that he had been communicating. You talked about this level of hatred that this person expressed in the dinner. Beyond that, is there anything in your view that you discovered that may have radicalized or changed him to prompt him to commit such a horrific?
There's nothing more that we can share at this time.
Governor, you indicated that he had been communicating with a friend on Discord about the gun. Do you anticipate any more arrests?
We do not at this time have any information that would lead to any additional arrests.
You believe he acted alone?
Yes, but the investigation is ongoing.
Can you detail at all how he came into custody of police and where he is right now, Mr. Robinson?
Yes, so right now, Mr. Robinson has been booked into the Utah County Jail. You heard the president this morning report that he was taken into custody, that his family and a friend helped to deliver him into custody of law enforcement in Washington County. For those of you that don't know where Washington County is, it is the southwesternmost part of the state of Utah. It's about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from here, where we are right now, and that's where he lived and where they turned him in. Please, go here. I can't share any more than what I've already shared. Yeah. So how we obtained the gun was found here. So I don't have much more details on that. We do know that he drove. We had his car here on campus, and then we had his car going south back to the St. George. It's actually the city of Washington in Washington County.
Is he talking with authorities and did he discuss a loading?
I'm sorry? We don't have any information that would lead us to believe that. Yes, in fact, it was just released. Yes.
Did he discuss a motive?
I can't answer that right now. Yeah, thank you. Over here. I absolutely believe that this is a watershed in American history, yes. The question is what kind of watershed? And that chapter remains to be written. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history? Look, I mean, if you look at true political assassinations in this country of someone of this stature, this feels a lot like the late 60s. And having one so gruesomely displayed on camera in all of our hands and in all of our pockets, we are not wired as human beings, biologically, historically. We have not evolved in a way that we are capable of processing those types of violent imagery. And by the way, we've seen another one with a gruesome stabbing very recently that went viral. This is not good for us. It is not good to consume. Social media is a cancer on our society right now. And I would encourage, again, I would encourage people to log off, turn off, touch grass, hug a family member, go out and do good in your community. That is happening, and it's happening organically right now. I had a friend in a small city in Utah who said, we're getting together, the Republicans and Democrats in my little town are getting together to have a discussion tonight, last night, just to find a way to find their better angels. So yes, this could be, I mean, you know, again, you have to go back to JFK to have seen a video live of something like this happening. I wasn't born until 1975, but I know that things were really dark in the late 60s. Sorry to some of you. I know some of you were there. This is our moment. Do we escalate or do we find an off-ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice. Two more questions right here.
Can you clarify that the release of those enhanced images at 8 p.m., the timeline that Director Patel gave us, led to the arrest at 10 p.m.? Is there a direct connection between those two events?
I cannot comment if there is a direct connection or not, but all I can say is that that through some process, the family came to know that this had happened.
One more thing, Governor. Could you just clarify the clothing issue you mentioned earlier? Was he changing outfits?
Correct. Yes. So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof.
I agree.
And
I
then
noticed that
changed
too.
back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting.
That's
here
what he had in the
at UVU.
backpack.
Last question here. Yes.
Suspect was from Utah. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about where, and was he a student here at this university, and is there any history of mental illness?
Yeah. So I don't have any information on the mental illness part. He was not a student here at UVU. He was living and had lived for a long time with his family in Washington County, in the southernmost part of our state. Thank you, everyone, for your great work in getting this information out. I would just say, process-wise, this may be important. I know many of you aren't familiar with the process in Utah. I think it's important that you understand that. Basically, we have 3 days for charging documents to be filed. A CI will be filed. We'll have more information then, more detailed information as those charging documents are filed in preparation for a preliminary hearing. So 3 days. So we would anticipate then that early next week those charging documents will be filed. We will obviously be working. The county attorney will be working very closely with Mr. Kirk's family as those documents and decisions are prepared and made. Thanks, everyone.
Spencer Cox, the governor of Utah, with the initial statement, "We got him." Tyler Robinson, age 22, not a student at the university, is the one that authorities now believe took the fatal shot on Charlie less than 2 days ago. They say recently it had grown more political mentioned Charlie Kirk's name and opposed his beliefs. And apparently Robinson reached out to a family friend with a confession, and he communicated a lot of that on a website called Discord, which is a group chat that some individuals use, and apparently this one did. And that's the information, all new moments ago in Orem, Utah.
Well, there was a couple of other things about a gray Dodge Challenger, and as we mentioned, he was taken by the FBI in St. George into custody. I believe he was at his home at the time, and secured by the father. But that's about a 4.5-hour drive, we decided, about 250 miles from Salt Lake City. So he was able to get away, and then the fact that he reached out definitely let them figure out a way to get the dad to help out here. I think the family is really important. A couple of things were just unclear. I would have loved to have a reporter ask if he had confessed. Will he plead guilty? I mean, maybe there are things that they think that they cannot say, but if he had done that, then maybe they would have said so.
There was a question, is he talking? And there really wasn't an answer given to your point there. The other thing the governor said, the family members did the right thing. And Tyler Robinson was taken into custody last night at 10 o'clock local time in Utah, midnight here in New York. We want to thank the Fox stations across the country for following our coverage here. For Dana Perino, I'm Bill Hemmer, live in New York City. Our coverage continues on your Fox station and also on cable as we remember the life of Charlie Kirk, taken at age 31. We await for more information on his funeral out of Phoenix, Arizona. Until then, thank you for watching. This has been special coverage on the Fox News Channel. Our coverage now continues on cable. And Dana, a few other things about the engraving on the bullets. Very interesting. Yes. Hey, fascist apparently was one. Another one, if you read this, you are gay. And then LMAO, about a suggestion about laughing. With slang thrown in there, laughing my ass off, as you probably are well aware at home. And I mentioned about the family members. Very important for these authorities to get in touch with whomever this friend was and to get them to cooperate with the family to move as quickly as they could.
And in fact, Spencer Cox, the governor of Utah, talked about the family members here. Let's play call for number 8 here, control room. This is what the governor said about the family.
Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate.
The other thing that the governor said that I think is something that we have to consume and understand in the days, weeks, months, and years to come, because Charlie Kirk was on a trajectory in the political frame of America towards something that extends beyond our ability to imagine at the moment. Really, if you think about the trajectory of his life and what he had formed and the way he understood how to reach people, whether they're young or not, whether they're voters.
They're talking about the fact that Charlie would have been president one day. And he may well have been, but unfortunately, we will never see that come to fruition. Hang on 2 secs. Let me just change this volume
I mentioned that's a question I would have asked.
Yeah, they're talking about questions that should have been asked by the press that was there at their press conference, obviously. I would have asked if he had secured a lawyer as yet, had the parents drove him in with a lawyer, perhaps. I'm not sure if it was 10 o'clock at night. Have the parents got the same views as the son when he expressed these views about Charlie Kirk at the dinner table? Who else encouraged him that Charlie Kirk was spreading hate and fascism? I would like to know that. And if they at all in any possible way, shape, or form convinced him that it was on his shoulders to take out this guy, or even just said someone should take out this guy, that in itself makes you an accomplice before the fact. I'm sorry, that should just be the way it is. And yeah, I know free speech, I can say whatever I want, but no, you were dealing with a deranged person who had intentions and hate in his heart, and you knew it, and you encouraged it, and you deserve to sit right along next to him. And I'm not saying you should fry, but you should fucking spend a good chunk of time in jail, because it's people like you that will continue to spread the hate. You will. I hope that if the family member did the right thing enough to turn him in, that they've realised that their hatred is born of misconceptions and fallacies, because none of the things that they accuse Charlie of being are factual or even close to being true. So, you know, that could be the silver lining in this. It could have converted it. He in himself, with his actions, may have converted his whole family to, like, shut the fuck up and listen for a change, instead of spouting evil and hatred around the world and around the globe and around their family members. It's as easy as that to stop it. Stop talking about it. Stop saying it. Stop thinking it. Stop actioning on it. Stop emoting it. People are, they say radicalised, and to a degree that is obviously a scientific fact that can happen to somebody's brain. It can be rewired. But in my personal experience, I've seen a lot of bad and good and confusing times, and have been able to sort of navigate the middle pretty much most of the time. And I saw a good graphic today. It was like a little graph of stick people. Let me see if I can find it. I'll just get out of here and jump in here. It was a meme graph. It wasn't like meant to be serious, but it's quite, it's pretty telling. So now we're gonna go like this. Okay, there it is. So as you can see, it is a graph. Bring it all the way in there. Oh, I'm going to have to readjust it if I go back to the screen. Anyway, so there's the graph, and what you see there is 2008. The year is 2008, and there's us conservatives here on the right. There's the fellow Liberal on the left, and then not specifically me, but we were sort of libertarians. We were to a degree, we wanted people to have the freedom to do whatever they want, autonomy over their body and stuff like that. But they pushed it to such a spot that by 2012 we were getting a lot closer to the centre, and the Liberals were running off and farting. I wonder who that is a reference to. Ah ha 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 ha. And the Conservative people are still on the right, okay? 2021, the era of the stolen election, the era of COVID vaccines, the era of mandates and masks and sudden deaths. right? The era of, let's say, January 6th, of course. The woke progressive right was pretty much born in that range, the 2012, with the help of a president, the first black president in history, Barack Obama. We have our woke progressive over here yelling at us and at the person that is now more right than centre or left, yelling at both of us that we're bigots. Now, as a true conservative, sticks and stones, LOL, we just laugh out loud. But poor old Mr. Ex-Liberal over here is like totally shocked. Here in 2021, he's like shocked at like the fact that his mate is now calling him a bigot. Now, jump all the way to today, 2025. This was the reason I found this graph is because the person that originally authored it updated it with 2025 statistics. And here we are, still in shock. And, of course, we true conservatives are also saying, what the fuck, because there is our Tyler Robinson yelling bigot at us and murdering, for no reason, a very, very talented, loved and revered character, man, mentor, father, son, husband. And it sucks. And we're all pissed off. And we're glad that they found him, and we're glad that he is now behind bars, and we're glad that now his life will never be the same. I think he's young. I don't know if I caught the age. I don't know if they actually mentioned the age. But they probably won't. He won't find himself in general population anytime soon, as far as I could gather, being that age. So, you know, he will be spending probably the rest of his natural life in solitary confinement, I would suggest. That's what would be happening. Because, like I said, he's very young. He is, I still think he's under 20. I don't know. He does look a little bit older in that photo, but, you know, he just killed somebody that could age you. And I also think that he is terrified. I think that he probably contemplated taking his own life and decided, or was talked out of it. I don't know. I hope and pray that all of that unfolds in either a trial or an elocution by the suspect, as we'll be calling him from now on, alleged suspect. This is good and bad news all at once, because we don't get Charlie back. We're never going to get Charlie back. And as people have said, there's never going to be another Charlie Kirk. I think I said it earlier in the show. Charlie was able to connect with every age group, every subset, every race, every ethnicity. He was just able to instantly connect. And as I said, there are very few people in this world, and at his age of 31, hello, who was in their 30s when they were crucified, he was martyred, but at the age of 31, he was, I've lost train of thought, but I think I've already suggested what my train of thought was that he was one of very few people that had the ability to connect with anybody in any age group. As I said, all of those things. One of those people was Jesus Christ, according to law, right? According to the Bible, according to Christianity. One of those people was Jesus Christ. Now, you could probably name the amount of people that were like that as, and I'm not saying that Charlie was omnipotent or anything like that. I'm not saying that he was the Son of God or anything like that. I'm not saying he was the resurrection, because that would be pretty stupid of God to send one son down and then send him back again only to kill him again. I think we've got the message. Let's not do that again. So I think that if you say to yourself, how many people will like Charlie, how many people will like Jesus, you could count it on probably less than 2 hands, but definitely 2 hands. Donald Trump is one of them, as I said before on the show. I honestly believe that if Bill Maher spent a whole week on the coattails of Donald Trump, and I mean a week, like embedded with Donald Trump, he would actually turn around and say, listen, guys, he is so not the person that we have made him out to be. We need to stop. We need to stop and wake up to ourselves. We need to start understanding what the prescription is for our country. And he's the chemist. He's the pharmacist. He is prescribing. He is not prescribing. He is administering the medicine for the country. And Charlie was doing the same thing. So it really comes down to the fact that there's going to be people like me and Charlie and all the other millions of independents like us continuing to do what we do. But unfortunately, there's still going to be millions of radicalized, crazy, dumb teenagers that have got access to some sort of weapon. It doesn't necessarily need to be a gun these days. We all know that. We all know that. Yes, in this particular instance, he used a gun, but Irana Zartuska the other day, her death didn't come at the hands of a gun. Many, many deaths don't come at the hands of guns. Many, many do, but many, many also don't. So we have to take that into account. It's not the gun. It's the person that holds the gun. It's the person that holds the knife. It's the person that holds the fork. You can kill somebody just as easily with a four-pronged fork as you can with a single blade knife, if you get them in the right spot. If somebody was standing right next to Charlie and just stabbed him in the neck with a fork, the result would probably be the same. Because that's just the function of the human body. You can't let that much blood out and live. And that's why I knew at the instant I saw that close-up video, which I'm not going to show you, as I said. I'm not going to put that out there for people. It's out there. I don't have to be putting it out there as well. But the instant that I saw it, and I said this on the other emergency broadcast the other night, that it just gave me Ashley Babbitt vibes immediately. Ashley Babbitt displayed the exact same behaviours after she was shot that Charlie Kirk displayed when he was shot. Now, the reason you didn't see the gushing of blood that Charlie Kirk displayed was because Charlie Kirk was wearing a single, not very low cut, but a boat neck style white T-shirt and nothing else. I do not believe he had any body armor on, and even if he did, it wouldn't have helped anyway because the shot was in the neck. It's been speculated directly into the jugular vein. I tend to agree with that because of the amount of blood that instantly poured out. I will stick to my assessment of, I believe the shooter was going for centre mass, right? But if everybody was watching the video, Charlie was in the process of putting that microphone back down on the table, and so there would have been ever so slightly a movement which would have brought it up to there. And that's where your pulse is. So that pulse just blew up when that bullet pierced his neck. But further to that, his immediate reaction after was to recoil and to tense up. And you could see that tensing up as his neck was pushed back, and then that sudden blood loss, your body instantly goes into shock and you are devoid of the ability to control your nervous system, and it goes into shock, which causes the tenseness. And that's just human, that's just biology. And those were the exact same effects that Ashley Babbitt displayed after she was shot. And you can go back and look at the video of that too. I'm not going to show it, but you will remember she was up on the window, climbing through the window. She had 1 or 2 feet on the window frame at the time. I believe she had her hands up at the sides of the frame at the time when Bird shot her directly in the throat. She fell back through the window. She had a backpack on, so that broke her fall. But she also had a scarf on. She had a flag tied around her neck. The bleeding would have been as severe, but stemmed slightly, only very slightly, by the absorption of it in the clothes. That's why it didn't gush out like that. She had a scarf and a flag, and that blocked the gushing effect that you saw with Charlie Kirk. So, again, folks, I just can't believe he's gone. I'm sad. I'm angry. And even though he's in custody, I'm still angry. And I need to channel that. I think we all need to channel that anger and turn it from anger to purpose, which is hopefully what I'm going to do tomorrow. Part of that purpose is to bring to light that the constituency of Australia, the voting public, the voting population of this country is fed up, and we have absolutely no confidence in the new films of the... Oh, yeah, I actually wanted to see this. Let's just flick over to that.
They tracked him to more than 250 miles away from the killing on campus of Utah Valley University. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. The governor of Utah told the world the death penalty is in the mix as this case proceeds. From the news conference moments ago, we have this.
Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years.
Authorities leaned heavily on the public's help to identify Charlie Kirk's suspected assassin. They put out this video last night showing him climbing off a roof on campus shortly after the shooting. President Trump praised the investigation on Fox earlier today.
Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. he's going to be found guilty, I would imagine.
And I just want to point out that he was running across, when he was running across that roof, he was tracked like immediately by that camera that saw him jumping off the roof. If you see the full footage, it zooms in and it comes out and it moves. So someone was manning that camera. Somebody saw that and thought, what's going on here? And they took action. Thank God for people that actually are paying attention.
Of the 22-year-old. Investigators say he was not a student at Utah Valley University, but rather lived with his family in Washington County, Utah, which is about 3.5 hours south of the campus.
Wow.
We're told one of Robinson's family members reached out to a family friend to say Robinson had confessed or implied that he was involved in the shooting. And at that point, that family friend then contacted law enforcement. A family member also said Robinson became political in recent years and even came to dinner one night prior to the assassination and mentioned that he did not like Charlie Kirk.
In that conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger.
We've also talked a lot about the black clothing that the shooter wore in surveillance images. Well, today we learned that detectives connected Tyler Robinson to the shooting through another set of clothing and his vehicle. Officers say they reviewed more surveillance video, which showed Robinson arriving to Utah Valley University on the morning of the shooting in a gray Dodge Challenger, wearing a maroon t-shirt and light-colored shorts. Investigators say when Robinson was arrested last night, he was wearing those same clothes. Investigators also said they spoke to Robinson's roommate, who shared with them some text message exchanges with the suspect. In these messages, investigators say the suspect talked about needing to retrieve a rifle. Well, we know the FBI mentioned that the rifle used in this shooting was left discarded in a wooded area. Investigators also say the messages let me go to this. Investigators also talked about some of the inscriptions found on the fired and unfired shell casings, which included some derogatory messages and others that read, quote, "Hey fascist, catch," and another that read, quote, "If you read this, you are gay." And then we also heard this passionate plea from Governor Spencer Cox, who told people to take down the temperature.
We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes, because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse.
Governor Cox also thanked the shooter's family for doing the right thing and turning in their son. Back over to you, Harris.
CB, just a point of fact here, because I want to make sure. So there were separate text messages from the online gaming chat board that he was part of, that he was sending messages on? You said text messages.
Harris, thank you for asking for clarification on that.
Yes,
I just went back to look
really
at the transcription of the news conference log.
On Discord.
The governor did not mention text messages, so my apologies on that. It looks like these messages were contained to internet chats.
Got it. Okay. CB, thank you very much, always. President Trump says he's planning to go to Charlie Kirk's funeral. And there are no formal plans for that right now, but we are working that part of the story as well. We know how much.
Okay, so he was 22. I was a little bit off. I did say that he could be older because he looked a bit older once I saw the close-ups of the pictures. And yes, he's 22 years old, but 22 years old, what was he doing? What was his job? He was 250 miles away from home. What did he tell his parents he was doing? Was he still in Utah? until that evening and couldn't get back to the rifle to retrieve it, as he suggested to his friend that he needed to do? What was he planning to drive back to? Did he think he'd hidden it that well that he could drive back to Utah, back to Washington, and then drive back to the university and collect it at a later stage? Did he think that the FBI wasn't going to be that thorough to go as far as past the boundary of the university, especially since they didn't retrieve anything off the roof? Yeah, this kid's a goner. He's a goner. I hope that Governor Cox sticks to his promise of pursuing the death penalty on this case. I hope he doesn't get sucked in by emotional parents, family members, people pleading his such a good boy status. I don't know what possibly could have happened to have made him this way. Crap. Because we're not going to buy it. And if you buy it, we're going to be pissed off. There is no scenario in which this guy should get off as easy as Brian Kohlberger did. He should have to admit publicly to all of his crimes, why he committed them, and how he planned them and perpetrated them. That is our right to know. Secretly, what I would like is for, and I don't know whether she'd want to do this, but I think if it was me, I would like a moment alone, not totally alone, but I would like a moment in a room with that guy if I was Erica Kirk, and have the policemen turn their backs while I slap him unceremoniously across the face like the petulant child he is, and turn around and walk away. I would never forgive him. I would certainly never publicly forgive him. And privately, I don't know how you ever could, especially with a love story like theirs. Because it was a love story. It was a great love story. I just learned yesterday that apparently Erica had applied for a job at Turning Point Australia. Charlie turned her down because he wanted to date her. So he broke the news to her exactly that way. He told her, I'm sorry, I got good news and bad news. The bad news is I'm not hiring you at Turning Point USA, but the good news is I want to date you. So the rest is history. And that's a great story. That's a great love story. How could you deny that? Tyler Robinson has denied that love story another chapter, let alone a happy ending. So, phooey on you. Big phooey on you, mister. As I said, I have no compassion and I hope you do suffer. I'm sorry. I'm on Crowder's side here. Stephen Crowder had a broadcast yesterday, obviously, talking about this continuing matter as it was at that stage. And I'm of the same mind. He needs to be not just prosecuted to the full extent of the law, it needs to be as difficult and as excruciatingly painful as possible. And that is all. That is all I've got to say about that. But yeah, there was a few questions that could have been asked that were certainly overlooked. Again, Kash Patel went out there and thanked Pam Bondi. I don't know why. I really don't know why they do it, but whatever. You can say what you like. Her job starts now. Her job starts now. If the people get the $1 million reward, if the father gets the $1 million reward, or this person, family, friend, or whatever, relative, or whatever it was, whoever it was that turned them in, gets the reward, then I don't think it should be allowed to be used in his defence. That's my personal opinion, because it seems to like protract everything to a point where it's muddy. You know, Bill Ackman's giving the father $1 million and then the father employs the best lawyer and money can buy, and this creep gets off. That would not be justice. So I hope he just pleads guilty outright. That would make it a lot easier, but as I said, we need elocution. That's the crux of it. We need him to admit verbally, publicly, why he did this. Otherwise, there will be no satisfaction had. Yeah, so I think it's 12:43. I've got to go to bed. I've got to get up early in the morning to get ready for this rally. I've still got shit to prepare before I go to bed. So I'm going to wrap it up here, folks. But please, I would like you all to remember, let's get out of here. I would really appreciate you all to tune in tomorrow when we are live streaming from the Adelaide March for Australia, no confidence vote in our government. Tomorrow starts at midday, Adelaide time, midday. I will be up and running hopefully by then, because I have got my booth, I've got my tarts, I've got my clamps, I've got my batteries, I've got my cases packed, and I've got my tables. So we are going to, you will see in my booth tomorrow, I'll be having these Charlie Kirk posters hanging around. I'm actually going to have a whiteboard there, and I will ask people to give their opinions. I'm not going to ask for a convince me. I don't want to start that sort of a debate at the rally. It's already heated with all of the stupid Nazis coming. They're always there. They're always trying to break shit up, and I'm not going to be a part of that. But I am going to ask people to sit down and talk freely about if anybody understands or knows. There are a lot of people that know of Charlie Kirk. My husband's just told me that everybody up in his mine site where he works are super pissed off, and so they should be. It's sad that we don't have a Charlie Kirk to speak of here in Australia. I don't think we could really go past Pauline Hanson as somebody that's like speaks on our behalf, but she's really not a Charlie Kirk calibre. Nothing against her, but that's just the way it is. Charlie Kirk was special. I can't say it any other way. We're going to be live streaming. I'm going to have a team with me, hopefully, tomorrow. I've got my boys here spending the night, so we'll all be hiking it into, not hiking it, but driving into the city tomorrow, and we'll be setting up my booth, which I have. We'll be setting up my my banners and that, so we'll be advertising the studio from the park tomorrow. I'm hoping to convince one of the two of the boys to take the mic on the road and do some stock interviews, like some recorded interviews, and that way we can run a show with those as well, so like an after show. Now, I've also contacted several media outlets and places that have, after the last march, gone on their social medias and said, oh, send us some links, send it to this address, give me your names, I want to use your footage, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? It's been 4 days and they haven't even bothered to respond to my email. Now, there was a situation I had on Facebook the other day when I was trying to get some information about this rally, because there was two different posters, one saying it was the staging point was one spot. Another said the staging point was at the same spot as last time. So I tried to contact somebody. They didn't answer me. Then I tried another page and I named that person on the page, and that person happens to also run this other website. And he finally answered me, and he started the response off with, I get 1 million emails a day. And it's like, well, I didn't email you. I contacted you over several different areas of your page and your email and your network, and you didn't answer me. I didn't say that to him. I just took his response, but this is how I feel. You didn't respond to me. No one has responded to me until at this very point. No, not even Turning Point Australia has contacted me. And from what I can gather, I don't think Jamal has even ever met Charlie Kirk. So I'm one up on him there. So phooey on you if you don't want to use my stuff. That's your loss, not mine. I don't have a big following. I'm trying to build it. I've been trying to build it for 5 years now. But there have been many times over the last few months that I have been so discouraged, so depressed, so down, that I haven't even bothered streaming. I haven't bothered even coming out to my studio because I just felt almost, what was the point? Now, I did start streaming for the rally, obviously, and I have had a couple of streams since then. My husband joined me the other day with the stream, which happened to be the same night that Charlie got shot. And then I came back a few hours later in my pyjamas and my robe to live stream with you all. But in light of what's happened with Charlie, I'm not going to stop. I have to keep doing it. Sometimes you won't see me, but when you do see me, I'm all in. I can guarantee you that. When I'm here in front of this camera, I'm all in for everything that's happening around us. When I'm not in front of this camera, I'm still all in, but I have a life. I have a mother, an aged mother. I have a family. I have a husband who works away, as you can probably gather. So it's not that I don't want to work harder. It's sometimes that I can't. And it's also, to be perfectly honest with you, sometimes that I can't manifest the energy to do it. But if anything is going to force me to continue this journey with you all or alone, I'm here and I'm ready to do it. So please, guys, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's programming. I hope you were as happy as me to hear that great news that he had been apprehended and that this story will not have a ... at the end of it. So that is one thing we have to be thankful for, and I am. So I think with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. It is 10 to 1. Faulkner Focus. I've missed half an hour of War Room and 20 minutes of Crowder. So I'm going to sign off here and get my shit together to get ready for tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm going to pack the car tonight. We'll see how I go. But I have been waking up early, except for this morning, because I didn't go to sleep for 36 hours, people. So I slept right in today, and tomorrow I've got to get up early. So let's pray that I'm all organised, and we will see you at 12 p.m. South Australian Standard Time. Same bat time, same bat channel. I will be streaming across all of my socials as I am right now. So please, 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 if you have the time, and even if you don't have the time, you can always just turn it on and stick an earphone in your ear and listen on the side. Anything helps, of course, with my viewership, and getting my stories seen and shared is also a big help. So please, 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 guys, join me tomorrow for our March on Australia rally and live streaming from the event. Have a great night. Have a great day. Keep the faith and share the love. Mega out.